men and women now guarding the gates of freedom. Salute to our flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Please be seated. Jessica, statement of publication, please.
Take notice that this regular meeting of the Mayor and Borough Council being held on this 21st day of August 2023 has been posted and advertised in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975.
Roll call, please.
Councilpersons Balca.
Here.
Conti. Novak.
Here.
Noha.
Here.
Roberts.
Here.
Zabrowski.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I'll ask for the approval of prior minutes of the mayor and council. Council President Anoha, please.
Hello, Madam Mayor. Do you mind if I defer, given my lack of presence personally?
That's fine. I'll defer
yes.
over to, because you don't have your document in front of you. That's fine.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'll defer over. Mary, would you mind, please?
Motion to approve, subject to correction if necessary, the minutes that are listed on the agenda.
Second,
Two.
Is there a second?
second,
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Donna. Roll call, please.
Councilpersons Novak.
Yes.
Balca.
Yes.
Conti.
Yes.
Anoha.
Yes.
Roberts.
yes,
Zabrowski.
Yes.
Okay, at this time, I will move forward then to old business, which includes public hearings on the following ordinances. Jessica, please.
Ordinance number 21-23, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 2 of the revised general ordinance of the Borough of Saraville to amend Chapter 2-64 fees and licenses.
At this time, I open to the public for any and all comments on this ordinance only. I see nobody in the public session, and I do not see anybody online that wishes to speak on this ordinance, so I will entertain a motion. That would be our Recreation Committee, Councilman Novak, please.
I make a motion to approve this ordinance on second reading.
Second.
second,
Wait, do you have the rest?
Oh, I'm sorry,
To close
close the
the
public
public
portion
portion.
and adopt the ordinance on second reading.
That's not like you, Mayor.
I know.
Was there a second on that complete motion? Thank you very much. Roll call, please.
Councilpersons Novak.
Yes.
Balca.
Yes.
Conti.
Yes.
Anoha.
Yes.
Roberts.
yes,
Zabrowski.
Yes.
Ordinance number 22-23, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 17 of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Saraville to amend Chapter 17, Section 1.8, permits for special events.
Once again, I'll open to the public for any and all comments regarding this ordinance and this ordinance only. Please step forward or raise your hand online. Seeing none at this time, I'll entertain a motion once again. Councilman Novak, please.
Move the public portion be closed and we hear the ordinance adopted on second and final reading.
Is there a second? Roll call, please.
Councilpersons Novak.
Yes.
Balca.
Yes.
Conti.
Yes.
Anoha.
Yes.
Roberts.
yes,
Zabrowski.
Yes.
Bond ordinance number 23-23, bond ordinance providing for various improvements in, by, and for the Borough of Saraville, New Jersey, appropriating $1,680,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $1,596,000 bonds or notes of the borough for financing part of such appropriation.
Once again, I will ask anybody from the public that wishes to speak, please step up or raise your hand online. Seeing none at this time, I'll entertain a motion once again. This will be Administration and Finance. Councilman Balca, please.
Move the public hearing be closed, the ordinance adopted on second and final reading and advertised according to law.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilpersons Balca.
Yes.
Conti.
Yes.
Novak.
Yes.
Anoha.
Yes.
Roberts.
yes,
Zabrowski.
Yes.
Bond ordinance number 24-23, bond ordinance providing for the acquisition of vehicles and equipment by and for the Borough of Saraville, New Jersey, appropriating $3,200,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $3,040,000 bonds or notes of the borough for financing part of such appropriation.
Once again, I'll ask for anybody from the public that wishes to speak on this ordinance, please step forward. Seeing none online or in person, I'll entertain a motion from Administration and Finance Committee. Councilman Balca, please.
Move the public hearing be closed, the ordinance adopted on second and final reading and advertised according to law.
Roll call.
Councilpersons Balca.
Yes.
Conti.
Yes.
Novak.
Yes.
Anoha.
Yes.
Roberts.
yes,
Zabrowski. Bond ordinance number 25-23, bond ordinance providing for various park improvements in, by, and for the Borough of Saraville, New Jersey, appropriating $300,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $285,000 bonds or notes of the borough for financing part of such appropriation.
Once again, anybody from the public that wishes to speak on this ordinance, please step forward or raise your hand. Seeing no one at this time, I'll entertain a motion. Administration and Finance, Councilman Balco.
Move the public hearing be closed, the ordinance adopted on second and final reading and advertised according to law.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilpersons Balca.
Yes.
Conti.
Yes.
Novak.
Yes.
Enoha.
Yes.
Roberts.
yes,
Zebrowski.
Yes.
Bond ordinance number 26-23, bond ordinance providing for water improvements in by and for the Borough of Saraville, New Jersey, appropriating $3,051,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $3,051,000 bonds and notes of the borough for financing such appropriation.
Once again, anyone from the public wish to speak on this particular ordinance? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion. Councilman Balco, please.
Move the public hearing be closed, the ordinance adopted on second and final reading and advertised according to law.
Second.
Councilpersons Balca.
Yes.
Conti.
Hey, Denise, we bond for the whole amount there, not,
Yeah,
what
happens is it's water is self.
Self-liquidating.
Was he talking to you or me?
Either of us.
Okay, water is self-liquidating, so it does not require a down payment.
gotcha. Okay. And a yes.
Novak.
Yes.
Enoha.
Yes.
Roberts.
yes,
Zebrowski.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next portion of our agenda. Appointments. Is there, Councilman Zebrowski?
Thank you, Mayor. Just in reference to appointments, I just to our borough attorney, I know that we're working on the revision for the Sarah ordinance, in particular that of the changing the dates for appointments to January 1st. But in addition to that, I'd like to suggest to council that we also look at the qualifications for our applicants as well when you're reviewing and proposing modifications, particularly that for a residency requirement if allowed statutorily, and also for a competency requirement. And what I mean by that is continuing education to be included within, let's say, the first 18 to 24 months of someone being appointed, so that given that you're on Sarah for 5 years, that you have the ability, or not just simply realizing what is coming forward, but having that full idea breadth of what everything occurs as well. So that's my suggestion, and I'd like to pull that towards, I don't know if we need a resolution to that or something, or if the board, if the council needs to discuss it further, but that's my thoughts.
That's a very good point, because our other land use boards do require our members, in order to, under state law, actually participate in different types of certification trainings and workshops. So to turn around and have that requirement under our Board of Adjustments and our Planning Board, as well as some of our other boards, I would think that the redevelopment agency, being as important as it is, should absolutely have that same type of requirement, whether it's something through state law or something that we impose here under ordinance. The residency requirement is, I think, something that really needs to be addressed more quickly here, because it's my understanding that serving on the redevelopment agency right now is the chairman, who no longer may not reside in Saraville any longer. So for myself as a resident, that is problematic, that somebody that doesn't live here and is not going to have to live under the things that are being decided upon on that board is now the chair, the highest officer within that particular agency. That's a problem for me. It's my understanding that the state law doesn't address residency, but I would think that potentially, and I'm not an attorney, as you know, that if we have an ordinance put in place that requires the agency to have a residency requirement, and the state is silent on that piece, that I would hope then that our ordinance would then take precedent. But again, I'm not an attorney, but I would hope that that would be the case in this situation. Does anybody else from the council wish to add their comments?
I think that both of those things are very important. I just, in the past, we've always been told that state statute trumps it. So I'd really like to know, I'd like to see the state put it in there, but will our ordinance trump state statutes? In the past, we've been told it isn't, it doesn't. So
I think it's a great idea. I would have to look at it. It is my understanding that the state statute is silent, but I would want to look at that more closely. And if it's silent, we could certainly do an ordinance, and I think that would be acceptable to require a residency requirement. as long as the statute is silent.
But even the training, I think, is really important.
Yeah.
You know,
And as the mayor pointed out, a few years back, they required planning board and zoning board appointments have to take these
well, they still do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
continuing education courses, which was controversial because a lot of towns in this day and age are having trouble getting volunteers for these boards,
Right.
as you know.
I
So
know.
it's controversial, but at the same time, such an important position that you probably should have some educational requirements. So, and
If we
along,
ca- if our ordinance will supersede the state law, then I'm all for it.
the other thing was, if I could, I did provide the BA with a memo a few weeks back, which kind of outlined as a blueprint, how we could go forward by moving the appointment to January. We would have to carry over some of the current members because you can't have a requirement, for instance, that somebody has a 5-year appointment, then you cut them off at 4.5 years.
We'll
So
extend it.
the blueprint is there if you wanted to go forward with that ordinance.
So at that,
All for
does
that.
anybody else from the council have additional comments in reference to the recommended, what would you say, ordinance changes or new requirements by Councilman Zabrowski? Okay.
No, it's a good idea. I'd like to, for us to figure out the right way to do what you said about the education piece. What do we require? Is there courses? Do we supply and do we pay? There's a lot to it, but it makes a lot of sense because you're right. I mean, you want to have qualified individuals on these boards and, that would help us moving forward for sure. So it's a good idea. It's a good idea. It's probably easier said than done, but definitely worth going down that path.
Because right now, there are standard courses that people on the zoning board must take and the people on the planning board must take. It seems to me that Sarah would require even more courses.
Yeah.
Because of pilot agreements and everything like that. It's a little different. It's a very important land use board, but the classes might be different. So we're going to have to work with the state to actually establish classes for the people. If we're going to say they have to have mandatory training, we have to say what the mandatory training is. The state has exactly what the mandatory training is already for the zoning board and planning board. We have to make sure that that's, set up before we make it mandatory, because if there's no classes out there to take, but I think it's important.
It's time for this board and the council to step up and turn around and require more from the individuals that are making the most significant changes to our town. When it comes to the redevelopment agency, when a property is labeled or put into the designation of a redevelopment zone, there's a lot of things then that now are going to be in the control of that particular agency. So there's different forms of negotiations that go through that don't necessarily come before the council or the planning board prior to. And you're starting to see that already with some of the more, let's say, highlighted or high profile situations that we've been dealing with up here. It's time to start getting things right here in Saraville. And I think that putting something forward like this is sending a direct message to those people and to our residents that's saying, we want to turn around and make sure the most informed individuals are going to be serving on all of our boards. And not only that, but the people that are serving on those boards also vested in our town. I find it a big problem that the redevelopment agency under the state law doesn't require residency, which I'm assuming maybe they left it out because it's a no-brainer, but clearly here in Saraville, nothing here is a no-brainer. I still have severe reservations knowing full well that we have major projects coming up, and still seated at the helm is somebody that is no longer going to have to live with those decisions. But that's enough on my end. If nobody has objection to the councilman's recommendations, then I think we should authorize the attorney to look into drafting such a thing and seeing what we need to do in order to make that ordinance actually come before us before I'm gone in just 7 more meetings. So I would love to turn around and be able to walk out of here in December, knowing that some major changes are being made and that I'm leaving this seat a little bit better and leaving my role a little bit better than what I came into. So let's do that more with a little bit more of expedition. Anything else under this particular part of the agenda? Okay, thank you very much then. We're going to move forward then with our new business and introduction of the following ordinances. Ordinance 2823, Jess.
An ordinance adopting proposed modifications to existing waterfront redevelopment plan regarding property located on parcels D through K, including block 333.02, lots 1, 2, and 3 in parcel J pursuant to NJSA section 48, 12A-7E, and supplementing and amending the general ordinances and the zoning map of the Borough of Fairfield.
At this time, I will move over to the Planning and Zoning Committee. Councilman Anoha, I would just need a motion in order to present this ordinance for public hearing on September 11th.
Hello, Madam Mayor. Instead of providing a motion, I'd even prefer to request to pull this ordinance and maybe receive counsel on how what appropriate steps would be necessary for that to take place.
Okay, so your request then is to table this or pull it? What would,
To pull it, more specifically, just getting more feedback from our residents and those involved with this ordinance, and just seeing that the dissatisfaction on many accounts, more specifically to the buffer zone and just other areas of how this negatively impacts our residents.
okay, so do I have a second on that motion to table this particular ordinance? I would need a second in order to move forward with a
Second.
second. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Anoha,
Yes.
Alka,
Yes.
Conti.
Well, didn't we table this one the last time as well? So
Why don't you have the answers?
why would we table it again, which seemed to be the same reason we tabled it the first time,
And that was 5 weeks. ago.
5 weeks ago,
Yeah.
and move forward?
I'm not
I mean,
requesting-
I know you said something about having the public speak on it, but can the public even speak on it till it goes to the next step?
No, I'm not
Hear
even
from the
requesting.
public
I'm not
if
even
it's not-
requesting it.
if we're
I'm
not
not even
taking public
requesting for-
comment.
I'm not
Technically, they can speak on anything, whether it's on the agenda or not, at the close of this particular agenda when it comes to our consent
Okay.
agenda resolutions. Anyone can speak on the good of the cause, whether or not we put it to public hearing. Usually we do hear at public hearing, but if there are questions, what I have found, when something makes it to the public hearing portion, it's usually made its way more than halfway down the football field. And then the changes to such an ordinance then very rarely occurs. Just in order to enlighten the residents, and we know that in August, in the summertime, it's usually our least public engagement. You're talking about the biggest redevelopment project, not just in Saraville, but quite frankly, not only on the East Coast, but potentially the entire continental US is happening right here in Saraville. That's the Riverton redevelopment property under the North American Properties developer. So we're talking specifically about lots 1, 2, and 3, parcels J. Am I missing any others? So J, Cornell, D through K. So we're talking about, in essence, the entire redevelopment site almost, correct?
Madam Mayor,
Oh, which sites?
redevelopment plan is being amended in total, but these changes are specific
To those sites?
3.4 acres on Main Street next to.
Oh,
Gillette Towers.
I'm sorry. I don't know
Yeah.
why, for some reason.
It's just one.
No. I think we're talking about the waterfront redevelopment plan. Am I misunderstanding this? This is Riverton. It's not?
Well, my question would be, is Christian misunderstanding it as well? Because he's the one who's tabling it. I know you've got questions.
Yeah, right now, I think I might be misunderstanding something
'Cause
and,
this is just that property right off of Main Street, 3.4 acres, that they want to amend a bit.
oh, this is our public storage facility. Oh, stop. I do have questions on that. Hold on. Absolutely, Christian. Woo. Waterfront kind of got me a little changed here. Real quick question. Who owns that
Sure.
property? Is that a redevelopment agency property or is that a privately owned? Okay, we know who that privately owned individual is. It's not the people that actually are purchasing the pure site. This is a private entity. This is somebody else.
Owner James Leonard, Frederick Kurtz.
Okay, I mean, I'm gonna go out on a ledge here. Really crazy thought here in Saraville, because in the 10 years that I've been up here on the council, we've only done this once. It was through the affordable housing agreement. Why don't we entertain approaching the people that own this property and see how much it would cost us to buy it for open space?
I would prefer that, Madam Mayor.
I mean, do we have appraisals on that particular piece of property and know what it's worth? Have we ever turned around and asked whether or not we wanted to buy that for open space? Why does it have to be developed? Why? Why does it have to be developed? Because when this came before me and then I turned around and I watched as all of a sudden setbacks were being changed and the recommendations that were coming forward, then I drive past there 100 times and I'm going, what the heck? This doesn't make sense to me. And the intended use over on this particular site is the same thing that's going to be built on Route 35, which we don't even know how lucrative that's going to be. And that individual is seeking a pilot for that spot, but yet wants to buy a piece of property in order to build something else. Something doesn't make sense. But what does make sense to me is what the residents want. And that is trees, green space, and a place for the animals to go. I got an email and a phone call just this past week because we got geese all over the place. So ladies and gentlemen, is there anybody up here on the council? And we do have to move forward with the vote to table if that's something that we want to do.
No, not to
but
table,
I
not to
would-
table, but to pull, Madam Mayor.
Oh, but to
Or maybe
pull, to
there's,
pull. The
yeah,
vote would be
last
to
last
pull,
time was to
to pull.
table because
No.
last time was to table
It's probably
because.
better.
Table and
Tabling
the
is better.
table and pull, they're saying is synonymous, Christian, so we're okay with
Oh.
both of those. I mean, I can't wait for this vote to go through, table or pull, I don't care what you decide on right now. But I wonder if anybody would be so bold as to make a motion, because I can't.
There is a motion. and a
No, no,
second.
no, just let me finish. After this is finished, after this vote is finished, if somebody would be so bold enough on the council to turn around and ask that we entertain getting an appraisal in order to potentially purchase this land for open space. Wild thought, but I need someone from the council to do it because I can't. I'm not legal. I
Understood.
don't have that power. I only have the power of this thing in front of me. All right, continue with our roll call.
So this is a tricky one, right? Because I like the idea, if we can get it back for us. So what's my position on this? So I'm okay tabling it. And then going forward with the motion to seek repurchasing that property for open space. So I don't know if we've got to do that separately, one and then the other.
I don't know if we need a motion. I think that can just be turned over to the Open Space Committee and let them, they would be the ones that would go out and get the appraisals, and it would be usually the head of the Open Space Committee that would first approach the property owner. So that's the way it was usually done.
Did we get a vote on this? I'm sorry, I missed.
We're in the process.
Okay, so who are we up to? And.
Me.
Okay.
So Mary, to your point, will that just happen if we send instructions to do so? Is that what it is? Because I don't want to just table it and do nothing.
To just turn this
Right.
over to Open Space Committee usually is the one that would handle getting the appraisals first and then making the overture to the property owner. I don't know if that requires a vote. It seems to me just turning it over to Open Space would be all we needed.
Would Sean mind
Um,
commenting on this?
Sorry, at the end of the day, you're going to be voting on whether or not you want to take that step. So just the administrative function of asking the Open Space Committee to do their due diligence doesn't require.
All right, so if I,
Right.
Did we vote on that yet or no?
we're still going.
Only up to
Okay, I'm
Conti.
just, I apologize, I get clarity on something.
So I just want to be sure. So I go ahead and table it, Sean. Can we then take those actions afterwards and send it to open space? We don't have to do anything, nothing more. Okay, good. That's tabling with a purpose, and I'm absolutely for that. I love that idea.
Novak,
Yes, yes.
Roberts,
Roberts? Did she hear you?
So I am of the opinion, I love open space. However, I think that just declaring that we want this one piece as open space as a priority versus what is the open space plan right now? What plan do we have for open space? Do we have other properties that we want to look at that we might want to prioritize? That's something I guess
We have
the
a whole
open
book.
space committee.
How much money do we have in open space? $11 million in open space.
Well, the last piece
11
of
mil?
open space that I recall being purchased, I think, was 4 million for how many acres?
Or
4 acres, and $1 million
4
per
million for it.
acre. So I think that we're conflating some feel-good things without having purpose behind it. I think that we tabled this before and gave the other councilman an opportunity to go out and figure out what was wrong with this, and he's come back with nothing. And I am of the opinion that I do not want to table it for those purposes. And if we're talking about open space, I think we need a more holistic discussion rather than property at a time. That's my.
I like trees,
Mayor,
that's my
I
open
say-
space plan. That's,
That's my opinion. I think that
Jammed right in that
rushing into
spot
things
there.
makes no sense. But,
rushing
so are
into
you
things
for or
bit
against
by
this,
bit
Donna?
Makes no sense. My opinion is no.
Okay, no to
That's my-
table. Next.
Dabrowski.
Yes, I think it's a wonderful idea to explore the open space. We haven't utilized those funds in many, many years, and this may be an appropriate area to do that. Yes.
I'm on open space. We do have an entire booklet on exactly what property is left. And we periodically, Joe Cups, who is on open space, but he's also our tax assessor, will approach these people. Almost every piece of vacant property that's left, most of the time, the developers tell us they have no intentions of selling it to us because developing it would make them a lot more money than selling it to us, because they can only sell it to us for no more than 10% of what the vacant land is valued at. So, but it certainly doesn't hurt to go out there and try again. But in the past, almost every single piece that's out there, the developers they want to make the money that they can developing it, and they refuse to sell it to us for the maximum we can as a municipality is 10% over what the assessed value, not the assessed valuation, what the value of the land is. So, I mean, but it certainly doesn't hurt to go out there and try again.
But also, if we don't if we don't adopt this change, then they can't go forward with
This particular project,
this, right?
absolutely.
Okay, does that conclude our vote? I believe Z is the end of the line.
Z is
So the
it.
motion has been, so the ordinance has been tabled at this time. And now I just want to make certain that we have the direction to have the Open Space Committee entertain the approaching of this particular property owner, and then moving forward with appraisals, because I don't want to have this broken up into like 4 months worth of discussion. Is it okay? Is this something that we can legally do here? That once we approach open space, that we then as a council will empower the board and whomever in order to go out and receive those appraisals?
Glenn, is that on Glenn? Is that on you?
And is
Glenn?
that, or Sean, is that an
Yeah,
appropriate way to
it's
do that?
acceptable, correct.
Okay, so this is craziness here.
That's progress.
That's as close to progress as I've seen in a long time. So what we're going to do is we're going to make the recommendation to bring this to open space. Open space will then turn around and approach the property owners, and we right now, and we'll do a real quick straw vote just to make sure that the entire council is in agreement to then seek out. We usually do 3 appraisals when it comes to property pieces. That's been our typical standard of operation. So we can come back then, and who knows, fingers crossed, we might have the opportunity here to actually gain open space. It's only been done one other time. And that was a handful of years back when we were negotiating and fighting back against the affordable housing mandate. We got the prime piece of property, that was what it was zoned, across from ShopRite on Kennedy Park. Kaplan owned that. They wanted to develop and they wanted to build even more apartment, even more market rate units than what you're seeing already happening. Remember, the affordable housing and the units going up right now are a result of a prior administration. We fought hard. I fought hard to stop that. We were able to actually purchase open space while we were still fulfilling our affordable housing mandate under the third tier of third zone, third round. Thank you. I was trying to find that word. And we did it. And it was such a shock. Other municipalities and other mayors were calling me saying, how did you do that? And we did it. Okay, we weren't successful getting the piece over by Costa Verde by Cross Avenue, although we tried. Let's keep our fingers crossed that we'll have more success with this 3-point whatever parcel. Okay, progress.
Can I ask you a question? So are you saying if the prior administration had done things differently, some of these sites where we're building, that Main Street, the other Main Street section by Columbia, we would not be doing that?
What, absolutely, what I'm telling you right now, I'm telling you this right now. And I lived this for over 2 years, and Jim Robinson and others up here. Let me explain what's been going on here for decades before I've sat in the middle. Developers were being given a green light to build wherever, how much, whatever that space could hold and more, with zero compliance to the Mount Laurel decision of 1979, I believe, because I would think I was one. I was born in 78 when I did my work. Zero affordable housing units. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, zero. So what was happening was all we were getting were market rate units, even though the administration that was here, the mayor that was here, knew it and allowed it. You look at Camelot, you look at across from Eisenhower's school, okay? When you turn around and put that many market rate units in under the law, the Mount Laurel law, we are no longer now providing the legal requirement of affordable housing. And what happens eventually? They come knocking and they say, you now owe us this many units. You've built this many market rate, zero affordable. It's a 6-to-1 ratio minimum. You now have to find the space. And we couldn't even argue, well, wait a minute. We don't have that much space here. This is zone this and this is zone that. You know what they turned around and did through the government? They turned around and did this. They said developers remedy, which meant you have to comply with affordable housing. So even though you have property zone commercial only, it now is going to be residential only. And all of your zoning laws are now no longer applicable as long as it can get us the number of affordable units you're required to build. We are living this horror. You are seeing this horror come to roost now. So if you're angry, and you're tired of seeing trees knocked down and you're tired of seeing houses go up and stuff, we fixed it as best we could. We had to put in 100% affordable units, 88 of those units. Do the math. What's 6 times 88? That's how many market rate units you would have been seeing. Okay? We got open space out of it. And I do have to say, it's one of the things I was proud of the redevelopment agency for doing. Yes, I said it. Okay, I have a lot of criticisms about the redevelopment agency, but on that particular decision, they did right. And it wasn't easy, and they were fighting and twisting and did not want to let go of that property to put the 100% affordable in. But I served on the redevelopment agency at that time, and I fought like hell. Okay, but we're still not whole, because guess what, ladies and gentlemen, and I was just talking to our attorney about it, round 4 is coming. And we don't know what the courts, what the judge is going to require us to build in addition to the affordable housing units we already have. We have to make right. We put an ordinance in place that any developer coming before our boards must put in not the 6-to-1 ratio of affordable housing. That means for every 6 market rate, 1 affordable, but they have to put in their fair share. And more importantly, another component of this that you don't understand is, in addition to builds that are non-residential, each developer is supposed to be paying money into what's called a spending fund. Okay, so for commercial things, they're supposed to be putting money into a spending plan so that in the event we have to build 100% affordables again, it's not coming out of taxpayers' dollars, but it's coming out of this separate fund. Okay, 2 years of my life was spent on this. The only way you can protect our property here in Saraville from this type of situation occurring again is start getting open space. It's the only thing that keeps their hands off so far, even Blue Acres right now. And you know Blue Acres is over here from the destruction on Hurricane Sandy. I'm very concerned about any potential changes that could happen at the state level under Blue Acres. My worry is many towns were hit harder than us here in Saraville, and a lot of areas now under Blue Acres. What will happen when developers come knocking on those politicians' doors and say, we need more money? Will they change the laws in reference to Blue Acres? I'm worried about that. Usually when I get my spidey sense tingling, something comes down the line. I hope I'm wrong though, Sean, but I just don't have a good feeling about it. So that's as much information as I can give you right now without being accused of pontificating too much. Okay, ladies and gentlemen,
Excuse me, Mayor, may I?
of course.
My favorite saying back then was that the developers were given sweetheart deals. Jim, you know, I've said it many, many times. They were given sweetheart deals and then they turned around and sued us to get a bigger sweetheart deal. And we were told by, I can't tell you the number of forces that we're never going to change this, particularly since the mayor signed a deal with these developers without us even seeing it, the council, which is, he has no authority to do that. It's one of the reasons why we were able to get it back before a court, because he didn't have the authority to sign it. But we were told up and down, you're never going to change this, you're never going to change this. And granted, it's still a lot more than we would have liked, what should have been allowed, because this one right out here on Main Street, that was not even residentially zoned.
No, it
The
wasn't.
other ones were residentially zoned, but the number of units that were allowed to go on there was substantially increased. But had we not fought it and worked hard, we would have had was 300 units
We
more.
cut our market rate units by nearly 30%.
Yep.
It was like 29 point something percent of market rate units. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? It's bad enough now. Okay, I want to say we took lemons and made lemonade. We did not. Okay, we took lemons and we squeezed the hell out of it, but it still tastes lousy. It's a bitter, bitter situation, but we did the best that we could from it. Because I'll tell you right now, I don't think I would be living here in Saraville if that true plan got through. There's no room. There's just no room. We can't have a repeat of this. Okay, I can turn around and blame Kennedy as long as we want to. But you know, as a mayor, you have very limited control over certain things. But we need to start holding everyone accountable. Okay, we need to start as residents being as informed and coming here. I mean, let's hope that the hybrid meetings stay once I'm gone, because you need more people talking, you need more people speaking, and we need more people involved in government. We need watchdogs and we need eyes. Okay, we need it. We need good people signing up for boards, because we can go right back down into that rabbit hole again. It might not come back out as fuzzy. Okay, so where are we within the rest of, so we have that movement into open space. We're hopefully going to keep our fingers crossed, get some appraisals, and I think we're up to the next ordinance. Next ordinance. There
Thank you,
we go.
Madam.
Ordinance number 29-23, an ordinance of the Borough of Saraville authorizing the sale of certain real property located at Block 56, lots 1.01 and 2.02, Block 57.02, Lot 1, Block 57.04, Lot 1, Block 57.05, Lot 1, and Block 58, Lots 6 and 7.
And this is
Several landfill.
Saraville Landfill 3. This is the Journey Mill Road site. I know it must be very frustrating for residents, because it's frustrating for me when I just see lot and block numbers. I think in other towns, they give a little bit more detail. I know we're not required to do that under the resolution, under the ordinance on the paper, but I would like to request of the clerk if you could just put a street in addition to the lot and block when we do the description here. We know it because we're on the council, so we get the backup documentations, but we're talking about the former landfill site over on Journey Mill Road.
I think it says it right in whereas right down here, Mayor.
Where, am I not seeing it?
It's in the ordinance, the actual ordinance.
Oh, yeah, the
Ordinance.
actual ordinance, but not everybody turns around and looks at, they're just picking up this.
Okay.
I see it. you
Ordinance are
see
in
it.
the- No, the ordinance are in the back.
Not everybody picks it up. And if you're a hybrid, you're not picking that up and you're more than likely not opening it. Listen, it's just more, it's just a quick typing thing. It's a little bit more ink. It probably doesn't cost us anything. I'm about transparency. And like I said, even I messed up a little bit because I jumped on the waterfront designation, and we know that that wasn't the case. So we're talking about the Journey Mill Road landfill site, landfill number 3. That goes over to you, Ms. Balco.
I move the ordinance be approved on first reading, advertised according to law, and a public hearing be held on September 11th, 2023.
Second,
Roll call, please.
Councilpersons Balca.
Yes.
Conti.
Yes.
Novak.
yes.
Enoha.
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
Dabrowski. Ordinance number 30-23, an ordinance establishing chapter 38, deployment of wireless facilities and procedures and standards regarding deployment of small wireless facilities and public rights of way in the borough of Saraville.
This goes over to Councilman Balco yet again.
Move the ordinance be approved on first reading, advertised according to law, and a public hearing be held on September 11th, 2023.
Roll call, please.
Councilpersons Balca,
Yes.
Conti, Novak,
Yes.
Enoha,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Dabrowski. Ordinance number 31-23, an ordinance amending and supplementing chapter 7 of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Saraville to amend section 7-3.4, parking prohibited during certain hours on certain streets, and that's got to go to public safety, not admin.
So public
Councilwoman
safety
Roberts.
is Councilwoman Roberts for that. Councilwoman Roberts, do you have your lines in front of you in order to move this to the public hearing?
Should have, but I ask that the ordinance be moved. No, I don't have it in front of me, sorry.
Who's second on public safety?
Second on public safety is Conti.
All right.
Am I muted now?
Thank you.
First one. All right, I move the ordinance be approved on first reading, advertised according to law, and a public hearing to be held on 9/11/23.
Councilpersons Conti,
Yes.
Balca,
Yes.
Novak,
Yes.
Enoha,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Dabrowski.
Okay. Before we move forward, I do just want to throw this over to Councilman Zabrowski before we go and acknowledge the resolutions. I'm sorry, I
Can we
think I
have one
interrupted
more
you
ordinance,
earlier in our
though,
meeting.
To introduce.
Is there one more to go? No. I don't think so. I think we finished them.
That is the parking one, Donna.
That is the parking.
Okay, because did we take off the wireless facilities?
Yes,
No, we just did that one already.
we
That was
approved that
30.
already.
For that.
That was ordinance number 30. Are you looking at the old one and not the new one I sent today?
Yeah, I'm looking at the old one, sorry.
The old one.
Okay.
No
I added
problem.
it.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
I'm sorry, John, I interrupted you earlier before, so I know you had additional comments.
Yeah, actually, it's consistent with new business and also discussion of our land use. And I know that we do have open appointments to several boards, in particular the Board of Adjustment, and I'd like to make I'd like to make a motion that Ron Green be appointed to the Board of Adjustment for the open full voting member position.
Okay, is there a second on that
Isn't
motion?
this the mayor's appointment?
No, this is the Board of Adjustments, I believe.
Really, it's your appointment, so.
Oh, you know what? I will make that motion in order to appoint Ron Green to that open position. John, you want to second it? All right.
It's your appointment.
It's my appointment.
Somebody
I'm,
needs to motion.
all right, motion set. You know what? Let's just roll down the whole thing. Here we go. There we go.
Okay.
Recommendation, motion, second.
Okay. Zabrowski,
Yes.
Balca,
Yes.
Conti,
Yes.
Novak,
Yes.
Enoha,
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
Oh, my Lord. Did that just happen?
Things are
I
easy.
think I hear the chimes outside ringing from St. Stains. It's just, for those that haven't paid attention, I finally got a recommended appointment through. It's impressive. Very good. Excellent. Here we go. I think it's been the only one in quite a while. Quite a while. It's been several months. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for that, John. I appreciate it. Let's move forward now with our resolutions, public portion and approval of resolutions only. Councilman Enoha, would you like me to push that over to?
Yep.
That's attached to the.
Yes,
table.
222. Yes, it is.
For 222, right? Yeah.
Yes, you got that right, Council President?
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna, do we need to make that as a separate motion?
Yeah.
All right, Councilman, would you please make a motion to table 2023-222?
Yes. You know what? I may not know the line here, but I would
You
like to
just
make a
have to
motion
turn
to.
around and say, so moved.
So moved.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilpersons Enoha,
Yes.
Balca,
Yes.
Conti,
Yes.
Novak,
Yes.
Roberts,
No.
Dabrowski.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Okay, thank you very much. So at this point, I'm going to open to the public for any and all comments regarding consent agenda resolutions only. Steve, please. I don't see anyone online with a hand up. Is that on, Steve?
There we go. Steve Melanowski, 28 Scarlet Drive in Portland. My question is, after looking at all the bond issues that we're floating in this agenda, there's over $8 million in bonds. That's a significant amount. So I guess my question for the CFO is, what's this as residents going to cost us down the line? That's a lot of money.
I don't know what the interest rates are going to be then. I don't know what it depends on the useful life of the average of all of those bonding issues and everything. So it depends on if we'll be able to sell them. It'll be 12-year bonds, it'll be 15, it'll be 7, 20. I won't be able to give you that information.
Understood, but still, to me, looking at the number, it's a large number, and with the interest rates climbing with the Fed, it just concerns me as a resident, and I already saw that our taxes jump in the third quarter. So what I'm concerned about is, are we watching what we're spending and what we're floating against what it's going to cost the residents? That's all.
Your taxes jumped in the third quarter due to Board of Ed,
Yep.
not to Borough Sale.
No, it's, to me, it's all the same. Yeah, 66% of our taxes are Board of Ed, the rest of it's the town. So I'll have other questions about that. Understood. But I'm saying is that we have some control over, and the bottom line is it comes back to the residents. And later on, I'll address the other stuff that I want to talk about. Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
And,
Thank
and I mean, Denise, the unfortunate part is if we're going to pave the roads, if we're going to buy new vehicles for the police, equipment for fire, water projects, it's the only way to do it, right? We don't have a kitty somewhere which has it. So unfortunately, that is the only way to fund these projects. I mean, sure, we use our, the tax revenue and whatnot to pay for other things, but with these big projects, we've got a bond firm but Denise does a really nice job bonding for them where, as far as the taxes are concerned, we as a council have done our part the last few years to keep it to a minimal amount. I know it's in totality, this year is bad because of the school. We've done our part to keep it down as much as possible, despite the large bond ordinances, and you see them each year. So it's an unfortunate way of doing business, but if we're going to keep up with the infrastructure here, it's the only way for us to do business.
No, and I totally understand keeping up and preparing the infrastructure to be solid. That's why later on I'll talk about pilot.
Steve,
Thank you.
May I say something? First of all, unfortunately, what we found in the past is when we don't do these projects, it winds up costing us more money in the long run.
Yeah.
This was all addressed in the budget. It was all in the budget that was approved in March. Also, we retire debt every year, and Denise is very good also. If she sees any fluctuation where the interest rates are going to drop a little bit, we will refinance. So
Right.
We do stay on top of that.
No, and I've seen that with Denise and in the past. Thank you.
We found that, we don't repair things. They just get bigger projects. They just want, how it is.
Oh, I do.
You don't address it,
Then you got a big leak. Thank you.
okay. Ladies and gentlemen, any and all comments only on consent agenda resolution items only. Anything outside of consent agenda resolution items can be addressed after we close this component of the meeting and then move on to the rest. Anybody have any comments or questions regarding the consent agenda resolution items only? Okay, seeing none, I will entertain a motion then in regards to consent agenda resolution
Mayor,
items.
move the public portion be closed and the consent agenda resolutions be approved on roll call vote.
Is there a second? Thank you. Before we move forward, I just had one question. I was for number 2023-236. I was just reading the resolution. It had mentioned special ruling from the ABC in reference to that. Do we know what that special ruling was?
It's to allow them to renew the license. You have to apply for a special ruling every 2 years if the license is a pocket.
Okay,
license.
so I just, whenever I see the word special ruling, I wonder if
so
it's
it's cool,
above
yeah.
or outside of the normal scope. Thank you. Just something I had a question for. I appreciate that, Jess. Okay, moving forward then with roll call vote.
Madam Mayor,
Yeah.
quick question. On 2023-233, Jay, on the Elizabeth Avenue project, how's that fall into the regards to the engineer estimate for the project? Is it fairly close or?
Yeah, it was in line with the estimate, yes. The bulk of that is utility infrastructure repairs, water lines being replaced, sanitary sewer lines being replaced, new storm sewer being installed. And you actually, part of this funding is coming from an ordinance that you did to cover that infrastructure.
Thank you for that clarification. Anybody else with questions from the consent agenda resolutions on the council perspective? Okay, roll call, please.
Councilpersons Novak,
Yes.
Balca. Yes. Conti,
Hey, when you phrase this, did we need to say we're pulling out 222 or are we just officially?
we already did that already.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Gotcha. Sorry, so many pages. I'm a yes.
Anoha,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Zabrowski.
Okay, at this time, I just need a motion to accept the correspondence as.
No, I have two resolutions.
Oh, I apologize. I wanted to skip that real quick, Jess. They're not as lengthy as most, though. All right, Jessica has two resos to be read in full.
Resolution number 2023-240 be it, and it is hereby resolved that the mayor and council of the borough of Saraville hereby approve the request for reducing the park rental fee for the Saraville PBA Local 98 annual event being held at Burks Park to a negotiated flat rate of $450 as in past years, and that said PBA Local 98 shall be responsible of all cleanup associated with the event scheduled for August 26, 2023. Be it further resolved that the fees associated with the use of the borough's mobile stage is hereby waived for this event.
Anybody from the public wish to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept the resolution and
Make a motion to accept the resolution,
close the public portion.
close the public portion and accept the resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Councilpersons Conti,
Yes.
Balca,
Yes.
Novak. Oh, she stepped away. Anoha,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Zabrowski. Okay, resolution number 2023-241, be it resolved that the following person is hereby appointed to the following title and department as per NJ Civil Service Commission procedures. Catherine Alichko, tax collector, 4-year term, collection of taxes, September 1st, 2023. Be it further resolved that the compensation to be paid such appointee shall be fixed and determined by the salary ordinance or appropriate resolution adopted thereunder fixing the compensation to be paid municipal employees, and that this appointment be made subject to all the rules and regulations of the New Jersey Civil Service Commission.
I'll open to the public for any and all comments regarding this resolution only. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public portion and accept the resolution as written.
Make a motion to close the public portion and accept the resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilpersons Conti,
Yes.
Balca,
Yes.
Novak.
Yes.
Anoha,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Zabrowski. Okay, now correspondence.
Okay, at this time, I'll just need a motion to accept the correspondence as listed on the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call,
Councilpersons
please.
Novak,
Yes.
Balca,
Yes.
Conti,
Yes.
Anoha,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Zabrowski.
Yes.
Okay, before we move forward, the mayor and council reports, I would just like to take this opportunity to bring up a special guest that we've been waiting for. This is our JCP&L representative, Miss Early. Rather than having her wait until we get through with all of our committee reports, I know that many of our residents had questions and you were the talk, JCP&L was the talk of our last couple of council meeting. Mr. Early, would you please come up? Just for the record, state your name, and then we'll let the council just ask some questions, as well as if you could give us an update on where we are with the lighting concerns that we have had. So go ahead.
I'm Tina Early. I'm a regional external affairs consultant at JCP&L. I've been there for slightly under 2 years now, so I'm glad to be here tonight to address some of your concerns. If I may do a little update first and then entertain your questions.
Absolutely. Thank you. I
Okay.
appreciate it.
So we have been working to repair a lot of the streetlights in the area, and I've been having lots of conversations with your business administrator about the concerns that have been raised related to the streetlights. And so we've been working together and your police department has done a bit of an audit of the streetlights in the area, reported them to us, and we've been working through them recently to try to get through a lot of that backlog. Specifically, recently, just in the past few weeks, we've been able to get about 30 repairs done in town. We've been focusing on some of the more higher trafficked areas, Ernstine Road, Washington, here on Main Street. And we're still working through that list, of course, but we've had a few challenges in the recent past trying to get through the streetlight repairs. And if I may just take you through a little bit of an explanation of some of the complicated nature of repairing a streetlight here. So really, repairing a streetlight is not necessarily just about going out and changing the bulb. That's the easiest thing, and usually we can get through that and go on our merry way and resolve that quickly. But then there are also other challenges to them where if the entire top, the head of the light needs to be replaced, that takes a little additional work. Then there's also the possibility that there's a problem with the wiring leading to the light, which includes much more additional work, especially if that's an underground line where we then have to call in markouts and have a larger crew come out to repair that wire. So there are a multitude of reasons why a streetlight might not be working. So some of the backlog has to do with those more complicated repairs, especially if you have neighborhoods where you have underground lighting. Sometimes there's issues with other contractors coming in and interacting with our wires underground, and then that's might cause quite a few in a community to go out all at the same time. And so we've been working through a lot of those issues in the area recently. So there's been a lot of work going on. And so recently, like I said, I think just in the past 3 weeks, we've gotten at least 30 done in town. And so we're still working to get through the list that I've been working on with your business administrator and with the help of your police as well.
Perfect. Thank you for that update. One question. So, and Glenn just stepped out for a second. I know he has this number. So, our ratio of outages in comparison to the fixes that have been made, do you have that overall number? Because we had been doing an audit for several months now. So do you know what your total number of outages that have been reported so far in Saraville?
I don't.
Glenn, do you
Um,
remember what number we were up to when it came to total number of outages? Over 100, a little bit over 100. Okay, so a little bit over 100, it's a third of the way through than what you have reported so far from
Mhm.
us, which is positive. I do appreciate the fact that you're prioritizing some of the more heavily traveled roadways.
Mhm.
Clearly Ernstine Road being one of our big, busy, heavily trafficked, especially with the schools and stuff being over there. We have here in Saraville, in order to try and assist in getting the reporting done, one of the things that was done by a previous council person was we actually put a service request form on our borough webpage. The only problem that I'm starting to see in reference to that is the residents are making the complaint to us and we don't have the power to do that. I know many residents ask why I can't get them done. They don't let me climb the poles, people.
Mhm.
Okay, they don't, and don't look good doing it, so I'm not gonna do it. Is it better if we just turn around and instruct our residents to call you directly?
Yeah, I think through calling our customer service number, but also we have it on our website, which I have found has been an easier way to do it. I tend to move folks towards our website.
Mhm.
I think that's the best way to get it to us. And then that way we are able to take it in through our system, get it assigned a ticket number. So then the ticket number will go back to the resident, especially if they complete it through our online process. Sometimes the online number can take a little while, but I can read off that information for you if you.
Well, one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to get the contact information from you so that we can put it out to our residents through our multiple email blasts and our other social media platforms. So you are going to start getting, because we're going to make sure that we blast this out often. One of the things that we're having an issue with and why we wanted to bring you in here was because just like every other town, okay, where there is darkness, bad things have a tendency to happen. We are no different than the rest of the towns in the state that have dealt with catalytic converter thefts, that have dealt with individuals trying to break into vehicles and cars in the night. And obviously areas that are not lighted are the perfect picking place for these things. So this is something that we've been dealing with at least since last year. Now, Jerry used to be the representative here. I know he retired and that's when I think you stepped in. He's been gone at least 2 years. Love him to pieces, miss him very much, but I'm happy that you've stepped in. Jerry used to communicate with us. At least he would come to one of our meetings in order to do a check-in. He never would stay. He would just do a quick check-in. Mayor, how are you doing? Or he would check in with our business administrator. So considering that we still have more than, 70 lights, thank you, at least, and we've been waiting for such a long time, I will request that either you come in person for the next, we have 2 meetings usually in the month. Obviously, you're here today in August, but come September, we need to have a little bit more follow-up and let us know how you are moving. So it says, I believe you said that in the past 3 weeks, you've worked on 30, so you're averaging about 10 lights a week, depending on what the issue may be. Our residents are very frustrated. In addition, I would also like communication with our business administrator. So in the event that you are not able to turn around and make a meeting, then that he would then speak on your behalf. So we get a little bit of a checklist on what we're dealing with. I kind of figured Glenn's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Mhm.
Our residents need to know that when we can't fix something, that we're holding the companies that are responsible to come forward. JCP&L, we're glad that you are here. We usually bring Optimum in, so don't think that we're only picking on you. There are other favorite people because they drive us crazy.
Yeah,
More questions?
well, the only thing I want to say is our town's clearly been neglected by JCP&L. I mean, you're here now, you fixed 30 over the past couple of weeks. We've been complaining about lights out to the tune of 100 plus for a long time. It's not just a little while that's been happening. We've been talking about it forever with these lights. And I don't know why JCP&L wouldn't be out here doing 10 or 15 a week. I mean, like the mayor said, sure, you're averaging, it's great. But if you were doing that for the past 6, 8, 9, 10 a year, or whatever it may be, I get it about some of them. I would love to see a report to say, hey, lights X, Y, and Z have wiring issues or underground was damaged, to see, okay, well, sure, 50 of them can't be fixed, but I don't think that that's the case with the large. And if it is, sure, show us something to say, we checked another 50 and we can't fix them. But I just think, I don't know why the town has been neglected, and I don't know why, because I've heard on numerous occasions, I'm going to put in a call to JCP&L. I'm going to call them. I've got a list, and so clearly we've been neglected. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you've got good news for us, but we got to change that, and we can't be begging to get our lights fixed. So if you're coming on a regular basis, I would love to see reports of, yeah, now we're up to 45 fixed, and and we've got 15 that can't be fixed because of this or that, and we're working on them. I think it's got to stop. I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad we've made some progress, and hopefully it has stopped, and then we will continue on and get up to the 100 lights that we need fixed.
Yes.
I have a question. It was brought up by some residents that when they use our website, it requires a poll number, and yet Jersey Central's website does not require a poll number. How, do you require a poll number to know exactly where the light is out, or just an address?
We do not, but it is extremely helpful if we have that.
Okay.
We can't require it on our website because not every poll out there across the 5 states that we operate
Gotcha.
in have poll numbers easily readable. So If it's on there,
Gotcha.
it's a lot easier for
So
us.
if there's a poll number on our polls, which I think there are on all of them, you know, it will really help to get those
Correct.
lights fixed quicker.
Yes.
So even though it might not require it on their site, if you are utilizing their site and not ours, please try to find a place to include the poll number. We might get this done quicker. Thank you.
Thank you. One of the things that I'm finding is that we are a middle person that can do nothing. So, and as Glenn has just said to me, what we're going to do is going to adjust our website in order to turn around and put your direct link in order to report the outages directly on there.
Yeah.
It doesn't help our residents to turn around and tell us because there's not a damn thing we can do. Okay, so we want to get directly to you. Let me ask you this question. Besides a report of an outage, how else does JCP&L assess how many lights are out or how many lights are working? Do you have a way that you do that on your end, or do you rely completely on a resident to let you know that?
As it currently stands, we rely on the reports.
On the report. So
Yes.
everybody that's listening, and we get a good number of people, I'm sure this will be all over social media. You need to make sure that you're reporting those outages, okay? One of the things that we don't want to do here is expend the resources of our police department
Right.
to have to send them out in order
Yep.
to do the counts. It's not part of their safety protocol necessarily on a day. We don't have many officers as it is, just like other municipalities trying to build that force. So in order to partner better with JCP&L and Ms. Early and the work that they're doing, residents, please report directly using the site that gets updated. Hopefully by tomorrow, you'll have Tom or whomever, Julie, add that to our site. Any other questions from the council?
And they do
Mayor, may
have
I?
a list of 100. So it's not like you got to run out there and get all the lights, the poll numbers again. They have a list of
Yes.
100 that they're working on. I'd love to see them fix the 100 and then see what's left. So you don't have to duplicate efforts. But they do. They have a list of 100 already. So your lights are probably in that list. But, you know, by all means, I guess you can go out there and do that. I know we've done a lot of work to try and capture all of those. Jim has, the police have. So if we fix those, I bet we'd be in great shape.
Councilwoman Roberts, I heard you chime in
Yes.
for a second. Go ahead.
I do have a question. I'm online now and I wanted to see how easy it was to report a lighting problem on the Jersey Central Power and Light. And it looks like I had to go in to my login account to be able to do that. Is that true? Or is there a way that a resident who does not log into an online account can make that
Not.
report?
You have the option to, but you also have the option to report one without an account.
Yeah,
Okay.
So
Councilwoman
we would
Roberts, having entered the list personally, there's a way to go on and report them without entering an account number. It's a sub-menu on the page.
Okay, so that's the link that we would want to put on our page, so we wouldn't have to have our residents have an account to do so.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Don. I appreciate that quick lookup as well. I'm excited to start a lovely working relationship with you. Lights go out all the time, so I know that you'll definitely be dealing with many of these issues. And I'm sure every town feels this way, but I want Saraville to be a priority, clearly. Let there be light, okay,
Right.
throughout all the areas. How are you doing on the upgrades? I know there was an initiative a number of years back where you came in and you started to change out the old bulbs to the new LED bulbs. And we've had that happen in quite a few areas. I know within our parks and so forth. Are you still moving forward with those LED upgrades to at least public spaces, or has that ended?
You know, I'm not sure because honestly, I wasn't aware of that we were doing LED upgrades on it.
I
in the
believe we
town.
did do, were they our personal LED upgrades that we did?
Personal lights That we were upgrading to LED. I just was whispering in Glenn's.
Yeah, but I did notice with some of the new replacements that were happening, maybe some of the 30 within my development as well too, that there's clearly a difference. When you do a replacement, are you doing LED replacements or are you just doing what's there?
No, if the township wanted to move to LEDs, that's probably a separate, broader conversation about that. But we don't just move to LEDs without having a prior agreement with you. What you might be seeing, and this is a guess off the top of my head, if you had old mercury vapor lights in your community, they no longer are manufactured. So
Okay.
when they go out, we switch them to sodium vapor lights. So
Okay.
that might be what the difference is. So sodium vapors are standard light now. And then the other option is LED.
Wonderful, thank you. I have one last question, and I know that at least one resident's probably going to be a little mad that I'm bringing it up. So apparently just about you were in Nashville, so a week ago, there was apparently a fish fry that occurred over in JCP&L that impacted Saraville. Our police department was able to put that information out. Can you give us a little bit more information on that? Originally, I had heard that it was a scheduled outage that was going to happen for repair. I think that was the information when I had called Glenn over in Nashville, and he called I don't know if it was you or someone else. Do we have confirmation on whether or not we need to be on the lookout for this bird? Or are you going to be opening up a fish market? What's going on?
I will not be opening up a fish market. So it was my understanding that that was animal contact. I did not know that it was specifically about fish.
I think it
So-
made some
Yes.
breaking news.
Oh, it made a lot of news. I
It
got a
sure
lot of phone
did.
calls about that one.
So
But
some-
yes, to my knowledge, that I believe that was actually animal contact.
Okay.
That caused that outage.
Okay, unidentified animals. So we'll let the PD
I
know
d- I
we
do
can take
believe
down that
there-
mug shot of the bird.
Yeah, I do believe there was some evidence that
Okay.
everyone drew their conclusions. So
Okay, wonderful. In the event of an outage like that, usually Jerry would reach out to us and let us know. That impacted thousands of our residents. So usually we would get an emergency call, at least to our business administrator, to let them know like, hey, we've got a widespread outage here. It assists our police department. So that way they're not handling non-emergency calls that literally almost shut us down. So we can get information out to our residents. So that would be very helpful that in a situation like that, because that was a very widespread outage for quite a significant period of time. If we can get emergency contact over to our business administrator so we can inform our residents.
I will follow up with you on that because we did send those out. So we might need to update some information.
You might need to, yes, Glenn is our newer business administrator. Mr. Frankel was usually very good with that. So
Right.
it's probably a contact information thing.
It's possible, yeah. So I will circle back with you on that.
That's perfect. Thank you so much. John, of course.
Yeah, I apologize, but I've been going back and forth with Tina for actually probably about 2 months now. And I appreciate the fact that you've always got back to me. But do you have an update on the one light that we've been talking about for so long, which is at Ernst and Gondak?
Oh.
Now, just some background, we had one of our residents show up a couple of months ago. Well, as I was coming out of executive session, she was very upset because she had never come to a meeting before, but the light had been out for a long time and it was a very dangerous area down there. So she didn't seem to have any other recourse at this point. So she was coming. So I said, listen, I'll reach out and see what I can do. So Tina had been corresponding and it seemed like you were a little frustrated because the light was supposed to be fixed, but it wasn't fixed. But I went out, I got the actual poll number. And then I found out when I corresponded with Tina that she had actually come out herself that same day to get the poll number because of that initial complaint. So first of all, I wanted to commend you for that because I thought that was terrific, but ultimately this light's been broken for some time. And I'm wondering if you have an update at this point, because that's a tough area for us.
Yeah, I thought that was included in the list of the lights that we repaired. So
Can you just check?
I
Because
will.
I know that resident just reached out late last week to me.
okay.
Thanks for that, John. I'm glad you remembered that. Okay, anybody else from the council have any additional questions for Ms. Early? No? Before I let you run, I will let you have a seat for a second. If there's any residents that have additional questions, I will ask that you can come up. I'll do it now so that Ms. Early doesn't have to stick around past all of our committee reports. We'll limit it just to those questions. What you'll have to do though, as the public, is you'll have to address your questions to myself or to the council. And then we'll call upon Ms. Early because I don't want the dialogue to be going back and forth. So Ms. Early, if you wouldn't mind just staying just a few minutes longer in case residents have additional questions. And then we'll be able to move on with the remainder of our agenda. Anybody from the public have any questions specific to JCP&L issues? Yes, sir. Come on up. Come on up here. That's okay.
I'm that lucky guy. I live on Shepherd Road.
Hold on, because no one will be able to hear you without the help of
Okay.
that. So name, please.
David,
David, okay.
I live on Sherwood Road.
I didn't,
Sherwood Road,
what number she wanted to know?
30.
Okay, go
The
ahead.
whole street in the dark for at least like 10 days already.
Oh, my goodness.
I called them myself. It's still dark.
That,
So,
They're working on files over there, right?
Yes, after that, we're in the dark. I actually called police and I said, this is the best time. Is somebody to come, rob, kill, or whatever. That's the time. So I called JCPNL. They said 3 days. It's already 10 days.
yeah, that has to be a priority.
And
We
nothing
can't have an
happened.
entire
It's
street
not
out.
just one light. It's the whole entire street. It's like in the middle of nowhere, dark. You can see nothing.
Yeah, and Fios was digging, so that looks like a third-party situation. Third party or not, Verizon's not going to be able to fix the lighting issue. I don't know how JCP&L deals with third-party entities that damaged lights, but I can't have an entire block of residents in the dark. So that has to be a priority. I will ask Ms. Early that when you leave here today, that you communicate with our business administrator tomorrow, because these residents can't have that. That is a dangerous situation on so many levels, and you've been patient now waiting over 10. Thank you for contacting
And I
JCP&L.
appreciate that thing about the storage too. Actually, all these people here came from that because I'll be one who will be looking at this 5 stories building all day long. So
Absolutely.
in the dark and the building.
Look at this. This was a very productive day for you guys. Yes, Glenn?
And sir, just to let you know, specific to your neighborhood, because I've talked to a couple of your neighbors, and myself and Miss Early had a conversation about that not a day ago, maybe 2 days ago. So we're aware, she's aware, and that I've been assured that that's going to be their next priority project to get that done.
When you say next priority, it has to be this priority today. What I'll recommend is, in addition to you calling him immediately, Glenn loves to jump in his truck and take rides over to check progress. So as soon as they dispatch their JCP&L crews, which I will hope will be tomorrow as an emergency, I think you need to jump in your truck and just make certain that they see all of the lights. One of the things we happened during Hurricane
We
Isaias.
were already out there, Mayor.
Okay,
We
so
were
what's
out
the
there
delay?
Friday. It's an underground fault, so we got to dig, we got to get mark outs
Okay,
to get,
what's
fix all of
the,
those underground wires that were
that were
damaged.
disturbed?
Yes.
What's the ETA on having the dig out and having crews in that area?
I don't know that yet because we have to call mark outs in, so that's at least 3 days, and then we have to get it on a schedule to get a crew out there. So.
So you're going to call him tomorrow morning with, when the markouts are already done?
I
They're not done?
doubt that, because that was just over the weekend. So
Okay.
I don't know if they may have gotten done today. I don't know that detail. So.
Okay, so what
But-
we're going to do is, the business administrator or myself will be hounding you or your office.
Understood.
I luckily don't have to go back to school until September. Again, many residents want me to climb a pole. I won't do it, but I will be on site. Because I need to have this done. Like Councilman Conti expressed, and I think you could tell that there was a frustration. Our residents have been waiting a long time. Okay, it should not take 10 days of him asking to turn around then and have only this past weekend to prioritize this as a mark out area. I have seen markouts be done in split seconds. My previous business administrator, when we had Hurricane Isaias hit and we lost our water infrastructure, I was literally on the phone with him at 3 o'clock in the morning. We were tracking down JCP&L, and myself was in a car trying to make sure that our water infrastructure got fixed. To me, we've waited long enough. I know there's markouts and there's issues in other places, but I expect Saraville is going to be, and that particular road is going to be taken care of this week, whether or not the light comes back, but there better be some grounds torn up and there better be some priority put into this particular area. How many homes are on that street approximately?
Yeah, it's probably
20 homes.
I don't know, like our side is dark, like every morning, every night I look outside, like something on my.
Yeah. You'll have to come up and speak at the microphone. I'm sorry.
And I live right down the street So my lights are on, but theirs aren't. So I can keep going by there every day and let us know when if there's any progress.
Mhm.
I'm Jennifer Stricka, 25 Sherwood Road, Portland. I do have, because I was worried because they were digging right next to my sprinklers. So I was standing there and they said, well, they handed me a card as to the person to contact if there were any problems with anything, with any kind of construction. So I don't know if you have that name as well as the party of the Verizon people to contact.
Actually, ma'am, if you want to reach out to me tomorrow morning, I have a good contact now for Jay Fletcher Kramer, who was the subcontractor. I've already had some complaints about lawn restoration, but I have a number where you
Yeah,
get a
it's
live
already, it's
person.
already brown.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be our next ones. We
I have a live number where you can talk to a live person that's responsible.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, sorry, Miss Early. Okay, but I appreciate you coming. Sorry. Like I said, it's a level of frustration. It's frustrating for us as council people because these are our residents. I have elderly people that can't walk up and down the street. We have a lot of things here that make it difficult, and we needed to turn around and make sure that you were here. So thank you very much. Glenn is going to keep us posted, and I have faith that this will be accomplished. Mr. Robinson, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Jim Robinson, 11 Burrell Square. I appreciate that you let Ms. Early go first so that she won't be late. I appreciated that she told us the fish story was in fact a fish story.
Fish story.
But, you know, I originally brought this up a while ago because of the safety concern, but we can't lose sight of the fact that there's an expense here. Streetlights aren't metered, so we pay for them whether they are on or off. And if we have 100 lights, and that inventory was done quite a while ago, and I think we're way past that. And I counted 14 out on Ernston Road Saturday night coming back from dinner. If we're talking about 100 lights, which is a conservative estimate, being out for 3 months, that's somewhere near $10,000, I think. So that's something that shouldn't be taken lightly, but I certainly appreciate her here. I appreciate all those answers. I appreciate that she seems very sincere. I appreciate the discussion about the LED lights, which I think is a step in the right direction. So I think we're making progress, and I thank you, Mayor, when the administrator said he wasn't sure, you know, what to do at the last meeting. You suggested that the rep come in. I think that was very productive. I appreciate her being here, and I appreciate what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Robinson. Okay, anybody else from the public? Mr. Duffy? Remember, JCP&L comments only, so that way Ms. Early can get out of here before it's too late.
Bob Duffy, 111 Merritt Avenue. We had an incident on Merritt Avenue a year ago. An emergency transformer, something went out underground.
Mhm.
They came out and marked it. Public Service came out and marked it. Your water company came out and marked it, and they fixed it in 2 hours. So when they tell you we're waiting for the markings, doesn't sound good to me.
Miss Early, I know, is not doing the markouts, but I have 100% faith in her that she is going to be tomorrow morning on the phone saying, you better get out there with your
It's
spray
emergency.
can cans.
It's
Yeah,
emergency.
I have
Just get it
faith that
done.
she's going to do that for
Yeah,
us.
they
I
did
know.
it. They did it within, I mean, they did the grass, the roadway, the curbs. They were done like in 20 minutes,
Yeah.
the whole area. And then they came in with the trucks and they did it, you know.
No, I agree, Bob. I think what just needed to happen was we needed to reconnect with our rep and just let her know what kind of circumstances that we were in and make sure that the contacts were good. So I have faith in you. 45,000 plus here. We can be loud. Okay, anybody else with JCP&L concerns or issues? Wonderful. Nobody online with any issues? Ms. Early, thank you so much for your time. I will be checking in with Glenn tomorrow morning as well. I'll give you until like the afternoon, around lunchtime. I'd like to call you. And then hopefully we'll have an update. Thank you so much. Take care. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, with that, we're now going to continue on with the remainder of our meeting. That is going to be our council reports. Administration and Finance, Councilman Balco, you're up first.
I'll be brief. With the passing of the bond ordinances, administration and finance will be getting very busy in 20 days. I was excited to see that we're appointing Mrs. Lesko as tax collector. I would like to wish her well. It is nice to see one of our own residents and employees who started as a clerk, taking past courses, get certified and get the job. I also would like to thank Phil Quigley on his retirement, wish him well, and thank him for all the years of service to the borough and its citizens, and other than that, progress.
Is that it?
That's it.
Did I hear the word progress real
Progress.
quick? Thank you very much, Councilman Balca. Public Safety, Councilman Roberts, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I've just got a few things since it's summer. The police department has been very active responding to people's requests, particularly you may see some of the lighting on Pulaski Avenue to make sure everyone's going 25 miles an hour. The second one is the noise in Edison, and I know that Councilman Zabrowski would like to make a comment about that. So let me ask you to give us the inside that you know, Councilman. Oh, put your microphone on, please.
Sorry about that. I apologize. Yeah, I appreciate that only because, and Vince, you and Mary, you may hear it as well. Every once in a while, particularly in the summer, you hear, well, it's either merengue music or now it's been the big bass music, right? And this past weekend, we heard it again. Whether you have your windows open or you don't have your windows open. So I know initially we contacted our RPD and they did their normal contacts through some of the local agencies to see what was going on. But having some background in this from my previous occupation, I decided to call over myself to see if there was some way in which we can get this rectified earlier. It appears that there are some moving motor vehicle shows, and they're not the ones that are approved or appointed by anybody, but they kind of circulate in early morning hours, and they have what these call as these boom box stereos that they have out of their cars. And somewhere near the Edison Basin, water basin, this seems to be where they congregate most. And the Edison Police Department is actually assigned now a detail, particularly in the overnight hours on weekends, to go down to the Boat Basin area to be able to see if they could curtail and in fact terminate this at some point. They thought they had it under control the first time that we had complaints this summer, but as this weekend, this Sunday that came up, at 1:40 in the morning, it was all over again. So I took the initiative to call. They did send down their patrol cars. There is a report on file. They were able to locate the individuals, and they did summons them on a new ordinance that was just passed by our legislature just recently on these boombox ordinances. So whether it ended or not, I'm not sure, but hopefully we're going to curtail it enough that it does not disturb us in the future.
Thanks for that update. I did see that legislation passed. Yeah, those are boombox base parties, they call them, these pop-up parties. And I thought we were in the clear because I thought we had finally nipped it in the bud. And this weekend I heard it too. Just that, yeah, they just move it. It was just that thudding. So it's something that's plaguing the entire state though. I mean, they're basically, I actually think the shore towns are even getting it worse than what we are. So I thank you for that update. Anything else, Councilman Roberts, please?
Yes, one more thing. I do want to acknowledge the National Night Out and what a wonderful event that was, and that Lieutenant Novak had done a wonderful job pulling that all together. It was very well attended. And I do want to thank Councilman Conti, Councilwoman Novak, and Councilman Zembrowski for also participating and sharing our collaboration with Mr. Howard and some of the other teachers that were there. And I had it on my screen a second ago, but since I put up the Jersey Central, I just have to move it. Okay, Ms. Lascala and Ms. Mojisis, who was there, we were able to honor some of the achievements of some of the students from the high school, some of the great things that they were doing at this event. So it was an honor to do that and be there for them. And the kids had such a wonderful time. Thank you, Mayor.
You're very welcome. Thank you for that update, Councilwoman Roberts. Public Works, Councilman Conti, please.
Thank you very much. All right, so a number of things. Unless anybody has any objections, I would like to see us do a proclamation for the young adult from Sayreville who lost his life not too long ago in a heroic situation in Pennsylvania where he was saving his brother and cousin. He drowned in that Pennsylvania lake. And just, I know everybody was trying to get the story straight about what happened, but that's not the point of it. The point is, this is a Sayreville young man, and he lost his life in a heroic event. And I just feel that is one of the things that we should take some time to recognize. I know we do that from time to time with proclamations, and I would love to see us do that for him. This was Eli Santana. That's his name. So I'd be thrilled to recognize him.
I cannot imagine anybody on this council would object to that. So please put that in for our next,
Appreciate it.
I'm going to tell you right now, we need to reach out to the family when to stop by and see them. Because difficult right now. They just had the funeral services just a little bit ago. So when they are comfortable and able to come, that is without a doubt, young man,
I think they'd like it.
I think so too. I do too.
Sad, but I think they would like us honoring him that way.
And as he should be. At this time, I'll just ask if everybody would give, please, a moment of silence for our young hero. Thank you all. Anything else,
Yeah.
Councilman Conti?
Oh, a lot of stuff. All right, another thing too, I just want to, I spend a lot of time recognizing people and the things that they do. I just want to recognize our town, the town of Sayreville, for coming together. There's another young fella in town, TJ Valenti. Some of you might know him. Some of you might have participated in this, but he is ill. Came upon suddenly, and he's been in the hospital for quite some time in the city. My point is not that. My point is they had set up a GoFundMe page, and the town really came together super fast. I don't know how long ago it was set up. Wasn't set up long ago, but over 385 people have donated to that, and over $46,000 was raised for the family. I know it's not all Sayreville, but a ton of Sayreville people. Going through the list, I saw a ton of Sayreville people. He's going into high school, was on the wrestling team, played basketball, other things. So he's an active kid. And then all of a sudden you see him in a hospital bed for weeks on end, hopefully coming home soon. But I just wanted to thank the residents of Sayreville for doing their part. And that's what's great about our town. Something like that happens, it just doesn't matter what it is. It's everybody bands together. And I just love to see that. So that's really going to help out his family, Tommy, Steph, Tyler, and TJ. So I just want to recognize Sayreville for them coming together and helping out this family. That's great. All right. So roads and being paved, Buchanan, Middle Oak, Highland Drive, Standerford, and Elizabeth have all been set. I don't know what the process is called, but bids accepted, planned, and they should get paved after September 11th. So shortly thereafter, those roads should be paved. If those are yours, you can start to look forward to that in the next over the next 30 days or so, and a little bit beyond. We have 4 roads out to bid right now, and that's Little Broadway, Gordon, Surrey, and Oak. And once bids are in and accepted, those should get in before the snow flies. Yes. So they should get in a little bit later, but they should also get in for 2023. I know Furman was done. I know Minnesink is working. I know that's a big project in Minnesink, so I'm sure many are inconvenienced. Hopefully it'll be worth it in the end, that they're all set with a good road. I know I did talk with Mrs. O'Keefe about Main Street. The county is paving Main Street, a section of Main Street. And their concern was they're going to be paving right at the start of school. So I reached out to Sergeant Braille about that. to discuss traffic concerns. First day of school is always a nightmare, but when you're paving Main Street, it's got potential to be even a bigger challenge there. And he's going to look at it and figure out what needs to be done to hopefully minimize the additional traffic concerns as a result of us paving that road on the first day of school.
We can start a little later and
Yeah,
finish up a
the
little
timing
sooner.
of it is really going to
Yeah.
make that abysmal.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Maybe we could
it is.
start a little later in the day.
Yeah.
And, finish up before the.
And it's the county doing it, so I think we have little
Yeah.
control.
And you
Um,
have contacts in the county. There you go.
Yeah, the 7th is when they had it slated to.
I know.
I think it's
Right,
the
so-
11th now.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's the 11th. It's,
Well,
that's,
maybe,
Still during the confusion
Yeah.
time.
so maybe we can figure something out with that.
can I ask just one question and update to Minnesink? I was stopped by a few people. Once that project, and I know that's, patience is a virtue here, sidewalk reconstruction being done there as well, because that was one of the concerns. Now, there's sidewalks and there's non-sidewalk. Is that going to be even where non-sidewalks are, or we're only repairing what is there?
Madam Mayor, just what's existing.
Just what's existing?
Curb replacement, if you have existing sidewalk, it's going to be replaced. If you don't have sidewalk, it's not being installed.
Okay, I knew the answer. I just wanted to confirm that. How are we doing on that project so far? Are we on schedule with where we anticipate it?
Water main, water service have been installed. Now we're starting on the storm sewer, and then there's sanitary sewer underneath the railroad bridge.
Mhm.
Waiting on some permits from Conrail to finish that up. But you still have at least another month plus amount of work out there.
One thing,
Like I was just going to say, people don't realize that when we're paving roads, it's not just paving roads.
No, this is a
All the
huge overhaul.
infrastructure first. Yeah.
One last thing that I will ask, and I know it's been a frustration for myself as well, but with school coming up, that road is closed and open at different times. I know that we have communications with the professionals that are doing it. Can we get a schedule of what times that's going to open and that's going to close? At least a little bit of an idea, because when that road is closed, it absolutely cripples some traffic, and with school starting, it is going to be a complete nightmare during the week. So if we can get advance notice as to it's going to be opened at this time, closed at this time, and the same type of consideration as much as possible for those early morning hours. School buses utilize that area. Washington Road is gridlocked without a road being closed. With that road being closed during school time, we're not going to be getting into, as a teacher, I'm telling you, I'm not going to be seeing students until
Might
third
as
or
well
fourth
switch to
period.
remote that day,
Yeah,
if that's the
exactly.
case.
Delayed opening until,
Something.
so if we can just get some coordination with that and advance notice ahead of time, because parents are going to go bonkers, buses are going to be a disaster. And then we need to put that out through as many of our forums as possible. Jay, can you work to coordinate that?
Probably through Sergeant Braille and Police Department, their control, they provide the officers for traffic control out there. So I think maybe myself or administrator can have conversation.
Yeah, Glenn's already pinching his nose, so he's starting to get a headache. Glenn, that's going to be a nightmare. It's going to be a nightmare. I mean, I'm excited we're doing the improvements, but a disaster is a disaster.
All right,
Go
a
ahead.
couple other things. I saw the contract was awarded for the Active Adult Center, the paving of the parking lot. So that's good. So that should be coming soon as well. So let's see a couple other things. Rubber surface is done in Kennedy Park. Pickleball is coming soon. I know part of the park improvement money I know is planned for pickleball. And it'll come on the next agenda. So pickleball will be coming to Sayreville. So looking forward to that. I know it's all the buzz. All right, a couple of other things. So I want to commend Matt Johnson, our fire chief, also works at the borough, aided by Craig Fallon and Mike Bailey. Matt had discovered I think a crack in the brine, the tank that holds the brine, I think it is, and acted swiftly and averted a crisis over there by calling it out quickly and taking action. So I don't know all the details about what was done, but it was his attention to detail that allowed us to find that before it became a problem. And we averted a crisis. So I just wanted to commend Matt and as well as Craig and Mike for getting that done. And, just the overall, the department heads that I speak with on a regular basis, they're really great. They're responsive to me, but then they're responsive to others because I don't ask them to come out to my house. I ask them to go out to others' places to check things out. And Kirk is always there for me. Phil and Richie in Parks and George in the DPW. So whatever I need, I call and they're out either checking out a street, checking out something in the parks, whatever it may be, and addressing our needs swiftly. So I just want to thank those guys. And at the same time, I do want to wish Phil Quigley well in his retirement. I know it's coming up soon. So congratulations on all the years he spent with the borough and his time that he gave to us. And congratulations on that, Phil.
I refuse to acknowledge Phil's leaving until December 1st. So as far as I'm concerned, you're still
Well, you
there,
know, I'll
Phil.
tell you, with the way the things work with sick time and vacation time, I don't know. I don't know
No,
when
I
we'll-
know.
we may not see him after, September, who knows?
There's certain times I just refuse to acknowledge
I
because
get you.
Phil is going to be greatly, greatly missed. Anything else, Councilman Conti?
That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Recreation, Councilman Novak, please.
Okay. Not to belabor the subject, but I've worked with Phil this long before he was supervisor, and he's always been top notch. We will miss him. He's not only leaving our employ, but he's moving to Florida.
Yep.
So, and I'm going to miss his band. They're very, very good. They were the band that we had in the park,
Yeah.
4th of July. So we're really going to miss him. National Night Out, Donna brought it up. It was really a wonderful night. Everybody, we had a good turnout. Also, that was the same day that our Lieutenant Governor passed away. And we had a moment of silence for her then. So many things are happening so quickly. Also, Jay, the library will be closed Thursday, Friday, and Saturday for the repaving of the parking lot. It's been staying open while they've been doing the curbs and stuff, but once they start the parking, the library will be closed. Originally, we're just gonna have it closed 2 days, but because it's gonna take a little longer, the library will be closed Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
I think possibly Monday as well.
Possibly Monday.
Depending on weather, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's another problem when you're doing roads, because weather can always affect it. Okay, let me see. I also have, the registration is now open for vendors for Sayreville Day. I hope they get the one back with the Kabasi truck there. It was good.
Got my
And,
vote.
and also registration is open for the Hit the Bricks Run. So nice things coming up in town. We also have our car show on the same weekend as Sayreville Day. So a lot of things going on for the residents. Please attend these things. And other than that, Mayor Provis.
Thank you very much. Let's move to Water, Sewer, and Environmental. Councilman Zabrowski, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I do want to shout out to Catherine, and wish her good luck in her new position as tax collector. And I wish Sean Nolan good luck in his new position as he's moving on. And the Mayor, just like you, I'm not going to mention Phil at this point because I've worked with him, alongside him many, many times, going back many, many years, and he will sorely be missed. So I will wait for my goodbyes on that. Do also want to give a shout out to our police department and our rec department for really collaborating really well on National Night Out. One of the things that I had always wanted to see when I was chief was the opportunity to actually bring a street fair to the Borough Hall area and Main Street for National Night Out. Now, while that didn't happen, the fact that it was down in Memorial Park and I think really added to what that event is all about. I'm still hoping at some point we can do that street fair, but I will tell you, it was really a wonderful event, and really kudos to both those departments for working really, really well to do that. Finally, one last thing, and Glenn, this is a request, and I know you have a bunch of them, but with school starting, and the fact that our school board or our school system now has so many buses, one of the issues that has been coming up, and it came up last year, was school drive. And not so much the students and the faculty, but the school buses that are now accessing or using school drive as a cut through. When it was 1 or 2 buses, probably not a big issue, but now that I think there's 40 some buses in that fleet, if we could reach out to our PD as well as the transportation coordinator and see if we can get it set so that the buses actually collect out to Main Street and rather than go that loop down onto School Drive, just would really give the quiet enjoyment to those residents there and also kind of reduce any public safety concerns as well.
We'll do that, and I'll reiterate too the request to avoid Laurel Park with the school buses, because we mentioned that as well. That was another growing concern, so I'll take care of that tomorrow.
Otherwise, progress. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Planning and Zoning Council President Anoha, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And ultimately, I just want to thank, the residents that are always involved with our planning and zoning committees and ordinances that are connected to it. In our last planning/zoning meeting, I think it was more regarding the active adult learning center and the construction going on near it. And just ultimately, I was grateful just to see the way our boards, still worked with the developers and the relevant residents that had their comments and concerns to ultimately reach a resolution that was appealing to all parties. And just want to encourage for that to continue more in our meetings, even up for the ones coming up. And but ultimately there is progress, and I'm grateful for that. Thank you all. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Council President. For my remarks, ladies and gentlemen, to the students out there and the parents, it's coming. School's on the way. The students, I feel your pain. I'll be there with you. Start getting to bed a little earlier so that morning wake up won't be so bad. To the parents, enjoy. September, it's so funny how you get that separation. I watch as the parents drop off going around the little U-turn and the kids are just barely trudging out with their backpacks and the parents are already down making a left onto Washington Road. It's amazing how quick that changes. But I wish all of our students and our parents as well have a fantastic school year. When next we meet, we'll already be in full swing. Also, I just have one more update. I had actually two residents. I get a lot of different requests to look into things. This became an issue. Apparently, there are some geese problems, which we've always had in Saraville. I did have one resident reach out to me in reference to too many geese in her particular area of town. Unfortunately, it is a townhouse community, so the HOA over there, there's really nothing that we can do. I try my best to fix everything. Mother Nature is not returning my calls. So I am very limited on what I can do as far as controlling geese populations. Yes, there are different mitigation companies that you can call that the homeowners associations are usually able to contact. Everything from cutout dogs to air horns and things that have been done in other municipalities. For public spaces where we have the nuisance of the geese in Kennedy Park and some of the other areas, we commission Middlesex County and we actually have agreement with them in order to assist us with the cleanup when it comes to their refuse. Is that the right word? I don't know. Droppings. I was trying to clean it up a little bit, but our hands are a little bit tied when it comes to what we can do as far as keeping geese out of your neighborhood and out of your home and out of your front lawn. I deal with them as well. It's just something that we're going to have to learn to live with. I will say this, Canadian geese are in fact protected species, so please be careful with how you decide to deal with them. Don't want to have a call that you've done something that isn't appropriate. I am so sorry for those people that reached out. If I come up with any other information regarding how to help you, but at this point, your homeowners association is really the best avenue to see what they can turn around and do on their own. And if they need some references from the borough, you can touch base with us or our Public Works Department. But in essence, we won't be able to do much as a council on this part. I apologize. Enjoy the geese. They'll be flying south soon. Okay, hopefully. That does it for me. Progress, public portion. Ladies and gentlemen, I will ask 5-minute limitation because I do see that there's a lot of people, new faces, so I know you want to speak. I always ask my attorney to keep track of that for me. He is excellent and he is kind. He'll let you know when the time's coming up. If you have something else pressing that you want to speak to, please let everybody else speak before you try a second bite at the apple. Young man in the back, gentleman in the back, come on up. You're a new face. I try to be nice when I see someone new. Name and address for the record,
Thank you,
please.
man. Mark Turpin, 6 Parkway Place. I don't know if you're aware, maybe you are, I'm pretty sure you are. The corner of Parkway and Ernston is a very dangerous intersection. On August the 2nd, at approximately 6 o'clock in the evening, my daughter was hit and her car totaled from leaving my house, which is about approximately 150 feet to that intersection. I have pictures here. And what's going on in that intersection is, and Matt Johnson was the witness over there too, by the way. Yeah, he was. Yeah, she's okay. Yeah, she's okay. In that intersection, you have the double line and you have the painted, it's supposed to resemble an island. And the cars are driving across the island to make the left at Bordentown. And what happened was Matt, and they also blocked the intersection. So we would like to request, the residents of that area would like to request, if you could paint a box, like do not block the box. Yes, you have it down on the other side of Ernston, but we definitely need one there and possibly even actually make an island to reduce people crossing over that double yellow line. This evening at 6:40, I stood across the street there and I recorded and took pictures of approximately 10 cars doing that very same thing. And as I was walking back across the street, guess what? A car came across the double line and basically.
And they come right at you. They will come
Exactly,
head to head.
exactly,
My parents
exactly.
live in Laurel Park and I deal with this all the time.
Exactly.
And I remember what it was like beforehand when it was the single lane and the train trestle had not been expanded.
Right.
And that was a nightmare and a half. And you literally took your life in your hand to make the left or right. Do
Oh.
I think that this is an improvement? Yes, but it is a disaster still. I'm gonna go over to my borough engineer here, Jay. We've had this come up multiple times. What else can we do? Because it's harrowing to try and get through there. I've never seen anything, cars flying up on your side because
Yes.
you don't want to break the law by going into the striped section. And then you've got a whole line of cars coming up along your side. They don't care. They are literally going into oncoming
Well,
traffic.
if they took off her front end, another 5 feet to the right, we might be having a different conversation. And that
Yeah.
this is not the first time. It happened to me. All the residents that live on that street have experienced at one time or another almost getting hit and their car smashed.
It's hard.
So what I could see from there, you probably have to put in an actual island to reduce that happening.
Yeah.
I know it might be a headache when it snows and you want to plow the snow, but that's what I see as a possible alternative to mitigate that situation. So-
Jay, we've had a lot of discussions about this. What can we do?
You can't do anything. It's county road.
Like, I know it's a
County-
county road. How,
has
I
to-
know that. I know it's a county road, but what can we do to implore the county to revisit this site again? Because it's so dangerous.
Madam Mayor, you may want to have your Traffic Safety Division of Police look at the accidents that are occurring in the area and maybe make a recommendation as to what can be done. We'd be happy to assist them with that. And then you
Okay.
can approach the county with a recommendation that you'd like to see these things done to help try to address the problem.
Okay, chief, in your past life, former chief, I mean, I know you've probably seen a lot over there as well. I don't know how many of them result in actual true crashes because people are used to being defensive drivers, but the near misses are extraordinary. It's so dangerous.
The traffic still backs up on both sides, and
It does.
that doesn't really, in most cases, a lot of traffic actually will quell accidents, but not in that intersection. It seems to actually create more, and I agree with you. I think some signage on the street would be helpful, much like it is on the other side. But the big thing is really to petition the county. When they redid that road, one of the things we asked them and said is, do you have enough? Did you widen it enough? Did you create enough lanes so that we can reduce the traffic, but also still make it safe? And they said yes. And then our suggestion at the time, the PD's suggestion was you didn't. Our suggestion is you need to expand further and have more signage and more lanes. And they said no. My suggestion now is, again, us as a borough, we should petition the county
Right.
directly and say, it's not up to the standard it was expected to be. It's still a safety risk, and we would like something to be done.
So this is, and I kind of spitball ideas here. So is there anybody on the council that disagrees that we need to commission the county again to look into this? So what I would turn around then and ask the council to do and authorize the business administrator. Let's do a formal letter of whatever type we need to for Middlesex County
Tell them that we need their assistance in dealing with this little disaster, okay, that we have on our hands. Bring in our police department in order to basically testify on our behalf and communicate with the county, because I don't want to have to revisit this again. I want to push this as far down the road.
Is it okay with you if my intention is we'll get traffic safety to compile that data? I'll
Yes.
Reach out to them tomorrow,
Mhm.
give us a report that we can hang our hat on and then write to the county with that as an attachment.
Yes, and does anybody from the council have an objection with it being from the mayor and council so that they understand that this is something that we're all in agreement with? Wonderful. And then keep us all posted on that. Anything else that you think we can do to hold their feet to the fire to push this on to the top of their agenda? Anything else that we need to do, Glenn? You have my permission to do. I'm certain the rest of
You
the
don't want to
council.
give me a blank check like that.
Well, you're gonna be very busy. Don't forget, you have to turn around and make sure we get lighting on that street. And now we got to turn around and fix this intersection.
One other thing, I know there used to be a time where it used to be a police officer that would
Yeah, in the
park
beginning.
by the corner and, you know, write tickets for people that's crossing the line. I don't know if you can get back to doing that. Have the, you know, like, somebody's going to die. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
You know, somebody's going to die.
Glenn, that's your other
That's
call.
real.
You know, I mean, anything, even if it's not an island, you know, a lot of places, like when you're getting onto the parkway, they have the
poles.
orange poles.
We have
You
to
know,
do something. We have to
anything,
do something because,
Anything.
you know, so I appreciate y'all making this a priority.
Sir, if you could just give your name and contact to the
Sure.
clerk here, I'll reach out
Absolutely.
to you with the follow-up and let you know
I
what
appreciate
progress
that.
we made.
Absolutely.
I'm glad that your daughter is okay. I'm sorry about your car.
yeah.
But let's hope that we get some progress here with this too.
Appreciate it.
No problem. Stay in contact with our business administrator.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Okay, young lady.
Hi, Jennifer Stricka, 25 Sherwood Road. Just a couple of things. I love the fact that you said we need more transparency, because in our neighborhood, when I was going door to door telling people about the storage facility that was going to go in there and what it was labeled under as waterfront property, when we're not in front of any water, people were literally shocked. And so transparency as to, because you can't really like look through every little thing to see what every amendment is. So I like the way that you brought that up. And I would like to see if everybody could just pass that area and see that it's really, it's a very tight area. I don't really think people know exactly where it is. It's this little triangle of an area. Part of it is actually the, looks like the parkway back there. I actually have a video and looked down. It's a ravine.
That's the water.
I know, that's a ravine. It's a ravine. It's two watersheds and it's wetlands. I mean, it's like everything all in one. And there's no property to even build on. This guy wants to go 35 feet. Anyway, I'll bring that up at the next meeting. So did he apply for a pilot?
Not for that particular site, but for well, where are we with that, that other storage facility with Club Pure? I mean. Probably not gonna be built. Probably, okay, because there's nothing. There's no pilot so far, but the request was there, correct?
Yeah, but we didn't have enough votes to move it.
Yeah, but it hasn't come,
For the Pure. So he hasn't applied for anything on this property on Main Street and Robin Hood.
That's a
He
good
hasn't applied
question.
anything.
Where
Okay.
are we at this point? Do we know of anywhere? I think he was the one that spoke that he was pursuing that site.
It's the same company, Insight Development, that was proposing for the nightclub site as well as this site on Main Street.
Okay,
Now we're gonna look to buy it.
there you go.
So good luck. Hopefully we have good luck with that.
Yeah. So if anybody could just look at that property and see that it's not waterfront, it's very confusing. And one of the things I did want to mention, I actually did read this whole redevelopment thing because I knew a few people.
Yeah.
Mary, you were the president then. One of the things that's very interesting, they're actually for this lot in particular, box-like structures are discouraged.
Are discouraged.
You can't get any more box-like than a storage facility. Anyway, I
hear
hope
you.
it doesn't get that way, but I'm just saying, when you look at everything, and as far as even for, one of the reasons why this whole redevelopment plan was partly developed was to generate jobs. What are we talking about, 3?
It's
We're
self.
talking about three.
It
Dunkin'
literally
Donuts-
says self in the title. That's not job generating.
I didn't know.
It's
So anyway,
self-storage.
I'll bring all that up. I just wanted to bring up a few things for, see if everybody can go and look at that property so that you know what you're voting on and voting against. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, now some of our regulars here. Steve, did you come up once already? So I'm holding you for a second because Ken just came and he hasn't come to the mic yet. Come on, Ken.
Thank you very much, Mayor Ken Olszewski, 108 North Edward Street. I sat through the Jersey Central Power and Light. I'm not going to give you the detail, but I can tell you I had a very good experience with them. Called them 11 o'clock at night. 5 days later, the light, not by me, down the street, nobody had reported it was taken care of. But along the same line, I want to talk about the cable company. And I want to talk, first of all, I don't know whose issue this is, but Channel 15 and the ability or inability to hear about the meetings that are going on. This is not a new issue. I probably brought this up at the microphone 2 or 3 times, maybe more. I was in church on the Holy Day. People came into me and said, oh, you know, I see you at the council. I can hear you fine at the council meeting, but I can't hear anybody else. Not the first person. It's probably the 10th or 15th person in the last 18 months that have said that to me. I'm sure some of you must hear the same thing. My question is, what is the issue there? Is that a cable company issue? Is that an issue in the borough with our tech? What is the problem?
They just hear you, but not us?
They tell me they can hear me because I speak loud. Of course, my voice projects. I sit here, I'm just doing it tonight. I mean, some people naturally have a voice that projects. I generally don't have a problem hearing you. I'd have a problem hearing the mayor. I don't have a problem hearing Glenn. I don't want to go one by one to everybody. I don't know if it's
Did you say
speaking
that
into the mic.
you actually have a problem hearing me?
Not you.
Oh,
said
I was
don't.
gonna say, because my husband would argue.
I don't want to go one by one, but I'm interested. Is it an issue with the cable company? Is it our problem? What the hell is wrong? Because my point is, I
Got an
don't
answer
watch it
for you.
because I'm at the meetings, but everybody deserves to be able to hear these meetings.
Question,
Go ahead.
do you or has anybody here listened on the website? And if so, is there any problem with the audio on the website?
Sometimes I pick up when you say the website, I go on YouTube and
Yeah.
listen to, no, I have no problem hearing
Okay,
anything on
so
YouTube.
that leads me to believe it's probably a Cablevision problem and we can
Okay.
reach out to them.
Well, yeah, that would be my request. I've been through this with another business administrator, Glenn, but I have confidence in you that
And it cuts out, the last meetings, I think over the weekend, it actually cut, it stopped and it went to the Sarah meeting, but only for like 6 minutes or 7 minutes. That can't happen. I mean, that just can't happen. Or at this, because I'll tell you, it really doesn't look transparent. You know, people are starting to question, what are they hiding? And we don't need that. We have enough problems we have to deal with. At this point, I'm assuming that, are we being charged for the use of the Cablevision channel? No? Okay, that's part of our contract. But at this point, what good is the cable channel if people aren't getting the information that they need?
absolutely.
You know, so yeah, see what you can do because we have brought this up a million times. So it's 2. I have no problems looking at the YouTube ones, the ones online through the website on YouTube. It's strictly channel 15 and it does 2 things. Sound is abysmal. I mean, I've given up on the visual. The visual is what it is. It's gotten better, but it's not great. And then the cutting off of the meetings is crazy.
That may,
And also, Madam Mayor, if you don't
may be an
mind.
issue on our
That
end
might be us.
because that's dictated internally by our IT people and there's software that schedules when the meetings will be replayed.
Okay.
So we'll reach out to Cablevision/Optimum/Altice with regard to the audio, and I'll have a chat with our IT people and find out why there's been hiccups with the.
So you might be able to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, Glenn, while you're with the.
Please
cable
don't say
company.
birds, Ken. We'll have power go out again.
Birds or fish, please.
DVR service. Optimum has not had the ability for us to record DVR for the last 10 days. And we're paying for that. We're paying good money for that. Could you find out what the issue is there? And are we going to get a credit for it? When I go into mine, it says we don't have the ability. I'm sorry, it's a problem right now. And yes, it's been going on for 10 days. That's my point. And when is it going to be fixed? I happen to use that. I happen to use it regularly to record some business things. But not speaking only for me. It's a problem, and sometimes we probably should get Optimum in here, like we have the JCP&L representative. And yeah, are we going to get a credit for that, please? If it's only mine, let me know. I haven't reported because it says that at this time, we don't have the ability for this service. And it's been going on for 10 days. I can tell you one thing, it did work at a time over the weekend. I was away and I record the mass every Sunday morning, and ironically, it recorded the mass. So it did work for a short time, but I've tried it 10 times in the last 10 days, and it's never worked.
All right, well, we have an ongoing dialogue, because actually Councilman Zabrowski's been spearheading that. We're talking about renewal of our franchise agreement. We have a good contact. We'll give her a call tomorrow.
On Minnesink Avenue, what is the deal about the reconstruction? What is happening there? In another week, I would say it'll be the same amount of time it took to build the Garden State Parkway. Well, okay.
That's why you don't hear me sometimes, because I forget to turn my mic. Donna, I miss you. Donna used to turn my mic on when I forgot to turn it on. First, we have to check every single water service line in town that we don't have documented, whether or not it's lead or galvanized, and they have to be replaced. So that was one of the first things we did. We're not going to put a road in and then have to start digging up. So the first thing we did, and I believe we're finished with that now, is we had to dig test things in front of everybody's houses and see what they had. If it was galvanized or lead, we had to replace it. So once that was all done, there's a storm sewer problem that we need variances from, we need permission from Conrail, correct?
Actually, you actually replaced the entire water main. You have
Okay.
Whole new water main on Minnesink, whole new water services to the houses. Concrete roadway, so you've got to cut concrete to be able to go through and put underground pipes beneath that roadway. So that takes a long time. Water main work is almost complete. There are sanitary sewer repairs underneath the railroad bridge. There are storm sewer repairs up and down the entire street that have to be done. So all the infrastructure is basically being replaced. Once that's done, curb and sidewalk improvements and then paving.
And paving.
And who is paying for this? Is this borough paying for all this? Or does this have anything to do
yes.
with the warehouses?
No, it doesn't.
No.
Okay.
No.
There's a deal.
You know that we had the flooding over there, the storm
There's a
sewers.
rumor going around that they were changing the road so that there'll be
No.
a higher clearance on the bridge. Any
No,
truth to
no,
that?
no.
Okay,
no.
so that's the deal. I do have more, Mayor. I'd like to come back to the end. I recognize the time.
Your 5
Thank you
minutes.
very much. Okay.
Mayor, if I could, just a
Make it right.
suggestion to the governing body, if somebody comes up because it's creating chaos with the 5-minute rule, let the speakers speak. You can take notes, but don't get into a back and forth because then we can't keep track of the 5 minutes. Just a suggestion. Thank you.
I like that idea. The governor did that very nicely during COVID, so that way we can get all the questions. I'm going back around in the circle. Steve started us off. I'll come to you next, Jim. There you go. Nobody's online, right? Okay, come on up, Steve. All right, 5 minutes starting. We're not going to respond until after you get all of your questions out, and then we'll hit the questions. All right, we'll take
Okay.
notes.
Steve Melanowski, 28 Scarlet Drive in Parlin. I know there's a lot of rhetoric on my topic I want to discuss, but it's on pilots. I have an issue and a request. And it's all in the goal of transparency, because there's been a lot of stuff going around about who's issuing the pilot for how long. First, all requests for the pilots should be analyzed for the pluses and minuses to the town. And when I say for the town, I also mean not only the town, but for the residents as well. That I've never seen anything. I keep hearing about, well, they're doing a pilot. Oh, they said to do a pilot with this. But, and I think, Madam Mayor, you said it before, or somebody said it, 66% of our taxes are educational. So if we give a pilot to somebody building 300 apartments. That's going to affect the school system. So when we want to do a pilot, I say there's two things that got to be reviewed. One, what is it going to cost the town for this pilot? Meaning, even if it's not educational for the moment, it's still police support, town support, traffic, et cetera. Then again, if it's apartments, homes, et cetera, that's going to have another effect on traffic, police, whatever, and the educational system. So when we're going to grant a pilot, what I like to see publicized is what's the pluses and minuses, so that we as taxpayers, we as council and town, borough, know when we're giving this away, what are we getting in return down the line? So not just, oh yeah, sounds like a great idea. What's the return for the town and the residents? Because I thought about it. I said, I'm watching them build these apartments or luxury apartments off Main Street, and they keep going up and going up. Traffic is a nightmare now. And I said, they're going to have children there. They're going to want to go to the schools. Schools are going to be overflowed. They're going to have to raise their educational taxes, which is 66% of my bill that I saw. So I think that before we do a pilot, whoever's reviewing it should also, in the sake of transparency, say, here are the pluses and minuses. We think this is going to be better for the town, the residents, because X equals Y, Y equals a dollar amount, or whatever it's going to be. So that's my request. In the sake of transparency, more clarity and review of any pilot we grasp. Because the same thing happened when you brought it up about affordable housing. I was, Jim, me, a bunch of us very involved in that, and we were just giving it away. And I know the Sayville Housing Authority contributed a bunch of our apartments in Gillette Manor to try to plug some of that gap for the last 20 years. So don't want this just to go, give it away, give it away. Let's do an analysis, make that public so that we as town and residents know what we're bargaining for and what we're getting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor. It was probably divine intervention that allowed Ken to record the mass. Jim Robinson, 11 Burrell Square. You know, years ago, we used to have 4 meetings a month, a caucus and a regular, and people got 5 minutes. Now we have 2 meetings a month, except in the summer, and people got 5 minutes at each meeting. And in the summer, we have 1 meeting a month. So I have a lot to talk about. I'll do 5 minutes at a time, but I'm going to come up and I'm going to speak. And I'll
You
sit
know that
down
I'm very generous
and
with
come
time.
back. Yes, you are, Mayor, and I appreciate that. And also, Mayor, the other thing I appreciate is your very thorough recitation of the history of COA and how we got into this mess. And just, I want to add something else to history. When John McCormick left in 1995 or 1996, we actually had a credit. We had a surplus of affordable units, and it was thanks, this is self-serving, but thanks to a good planning board that knew and understood the law and Gillette Manor, we had a surplus. So in the 20 years after that, when another mayor came in for 4 terms, that's when we got into trouble. And you said, you, as a mayor, there's not much that you can do. Well, as a mayor, you appoint the planning board, and that mayor appointed the planning board that got us into that trouble. Sometimes he didn't even appoint the planning board. Sometimes we had illegal holdovers who made some of those decisions, which really, really complicated things. So who sits in that seat really is important, and whether or not they are minding the store and following the law. And you know, it's not just that we're going to have all of these apartments in order to get the 785 affordable that we need. And I support affordable housing. It's all of the others, but it's not just those homes. That's going to cost us millions and millions and millions of dollars that we don't have because Mayor O'Brien allowed that to happen, and that's why we got sued. We got sued because they came in and they took a look and they saw that in some cases, we actually violated Judge Hurley's order, a direct order to do something. And that's why we got sued. And that's why, so, people like to say, oh, the judge forced that upon us. Well, no, what the judge did was enforce the law because we flaunted the law for 20 years. So I appreciate your history of that. I also appreciate, you have no idea how much I appreciate the comment about making that property on Main Street open space. And actually we have, it's $11,281,000 in that fund. I communicated with Councilman Balka today about that. He was kind enough to send me the exact amount. It's $11,281,000. And as you said, Mayor, we've used that money only once, and that was to prevent, I think, 65 more apartments from being built behind Kennedy Park. And we got those 4 additional acres to Kennedy Park, which, by the way, the same mayor vetoed. The same mayor vetoed that additional 4 acres to Kennedy Park. We would have had 65 more apartments if the council, including the Republicans on the council, hadn't overridden that veto. Let me say something else to pick up on a comment that Mary made. And I'm going to thank Councilman Zabrowski and Councilman Anoha for comments they made with respect to this. When we talk about the value of that property, because Councilman Anoha pulled that ordinance, the value of that property was reduced significantly, because under the existing zoning ordinance, they would not be able to develop that because of the setbacks and the bulk variance and the bulk requirements and the various other things they needed. That's why they didn't go to the zoning board or the planning board for that. That's why they went the route that they did, because their piece is non-conforming and has very little value. They would not be able to build anything. So that property is a great parcel to purchase for open space. And I mentioned this at the other meeting. What they did is they were trying to sneak in the back door and say, well, the zoning ordinance doesn't apply, so let's throw this out, let's throw that out, let's allow it to be closer to the homes and the apartments. No. Abide by the ordinance. And so one last thing, and then I'll sit down before I come back again. Councilman Zabrowski, I want to thank you for your comments with respect to Sarah. And Councilman Zabrowski and I exchanged a couple emails about some requirements. I had the same discussion with Councilman Anoha. At the last meeting, and it's noteworthy, the chairman of Sarah no longer lives in town. He's in a holdover position right now. He no longer lives in town. And Mike's a friend of mine. I don't blame him for moving out of town with all the traffic that's going to be in that neighborhood because of the warehouses that he rammed through Sarah and rammed through the planning board. I'd probably move too. So I don't blame him for that. But at the last meeting, Councilwoman Roberts reported on the reorganization. And to pick up on what Ken said, and you said, Mayor, you could only see the first couple minutes of the Sarah meeting and then it cut out. Who made the motion to reappoint Chairman Daddio, chairman of Sarah?
That's 6
Does anybody
minutes.
know?
Maybe Donna, do you remember who made the motion?
Kingos Councilman Roberts that made that motion.
I do not recall. I could look it up by what in the minutes, but I do not recall off the top of my head. And
Okay.
I don't know how, never mind.
Well,
He had said he was moving out and then they made the motion?
I don't know. It was
Oh.
reported on at the last meeting, but not reported
Okay.
on who.
Yeah, I
made it.
did
But
ask
That's
who.
important to know, because if, I have to seriously question the judge. At that time, we knew that the gentleman had moved out of town. And I just have to question the judgment of a board that
You're coming on 8 minutes. We got to wrap it
reelects
up.
somebody,
8 minutes.
that reelects somebody to the chairmanship of the most important board in the town who doesn't live in the town. So I'd like to get an answer to that question at some point. I'd like to know who made that motion. I'll sit down, but I'll be back. Thank you very much.
I do have somebody online that I'd like to bring up, and then, sir, I'll bring you up next, okay? Is it Ms. Hornbeck? Just make sure we can hear you.
Yep.
There you go.
Yes.
Name and address, please. Thank you.
Hi, Allison Hornbeck, 7 Driftwood Drive.
Go ahead, Allison.
Just want to ask, where are we with that RFP? I see, Mayor, that there was an article in My Central Jersey talking about hiring a special counsel to investigate the former Democratic leader's dealings. I'm so glad we paid our newspaper things so we could get this going.
Yes.
But where are we with that?
Okay, so luckily we do have some update on that. So Jessica, we received our RFPs. We received our, those that put in. Total of 4, I believe, is what we have. 4 auditors that have put in. That was not including the one that we had from before, though, I think. So I don't think they put back in. So me personally, I already started doing some research on who these individuals are and who their firms have represented in the past. Councilman Zabrowski, I think you had said you had a chance to at least look at a few of them. I don't know if anybody else has had an opportunity. And at this point, I'm just waiting for the council. I'm ready to move forward whenever we feel good. I think you looked at a couple as well.
Yes, I had an opportunity to look at all 4 applications that came in. And I think, we should have a discussion at some point.
Yes, without a doubt. In my personal opinion, I've said it from day one, and I was quoted in the paper saying it. We saw what happened. We know what happens. We're reading what happens. We have to protect. That is what we are here for. We have to protect our residents. We have to protect the borough from litigation. We have to make sure that things were done on the up and up. We have to look into any dealings that were handled, especially out of the redevelopment agency. And not just that. I said this way back. There are other boards that need to be looked at as well. I'm not saying that any of our professionals or any of our employees did anything wrong. We have to dot our I's and cross our T's because this veil has fallen over Saraville. And if we turn around and turn our backs, then we are complacent in what is occurring. That's my personal opinion. We have a duty and a responsibility to check into when something looks amiss and it deals specifically with issues and businesses within our town and people that are elected into these or appointed into these positions. We have to make sure we're doing right by the borough. So I plan on bringing that up. There's definitely 2 that I have looked into that has raised an eyebrow to me. Has anybody else on the council had an opportunity to review those individuals that put in for RFP yet?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I've taken a look as well at the 4 candidates.
You too also, Council President?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Listen, in my personal opinion right now, this has to be one of the things that is on the top of an elected official's list of responsibilities. If you hadn't had an opportunity up here as an elected official to look at who put in to do this investigation, what are you waiting on? The residents haven't forgotten. Thank you, Allison. And you're not the only one that has asked. One of the reasons why the reporter contacted me was because there was so much discussion about where are we with this? I surely hope that people aren't waiting me out. I have 7 meetings. 7 meetings left.
So it's not just complacency, it would also be complicit. That's what the residents are going to assume. And I would really hope that this also, under this umbrella, includes the investigation back into the 2018 to the councilman who was fired from his job for bribery. And in 2018, the mayor at that time, in a newspaper article, said that he was going to call for an investigation. And because I can't find anything else that happened, I'm going to assume that word, assume that it never happened. So
Very
it
good
needs
point.
to be, grabbed up in the same thing. because it's the same umbrella, it's the same veil.
Very good point. I didn't even think of that component, Allison. I'm glad that you reminded me of that. There's an awful lot that needs to be dug into. And again, I say, I had 7 more meetings. That's it. I hope that this council turns around and moves forward with what needs to be done for the good of our town. Ladies and Allison, anything else?
Or do I still have time in my 5 minutes?
Yeah, I interrupted you. I apologize. You're still running.
Okay.
You haven't even hit the 5 minutes. I've probably,
Good.
hammered on for 2 of them.
So going back to way in the beginning of the meeting, we're talking about open spaces. One thing that I've always imagined, and I would love for people to open up their mind and expand, when you come over that bridge and you see where that Amboy Cinema was, wouldn't that be awesome to be an open space for families, for a park, for some kind of, like, can't we get imaginative? And just because that is the first thing that you see when you come into Sayreville. I mean, back in the day, I used to watch them, driving movies going over the bridge, but, first, why couldn't that also be looked at? I mean, it's been an eyesore for how long?
I don't want to interrupt if you have any other comments or questions, but I know I can speak a little bit onto the movie theater, but I want to make sure I don't interrupt your 5 minutes anymore. Anything else though that you want to bring up?
No.
Okay, so in reference to the movie theater, I would love nothing more than to turn around as a borough and say, we're going to turn that into a park. I mean, we could turn it into whatever. I mean, nothing but natural space. But a lot of people automatically assume that every property in here is owned by the borough. We don't own, the borough does not own that site. It's not our property. It was purchased by, what was the name of the company that, Rice Development, which is also, no, we don't know. Were they out of Newark or something? Or New York? Or New York. So originally it was owned by National Amusement, I believe. That gentleman held that, am I correct, Jay? That National Amusement, they held on to that piece of property for a very, very long time, taking I wish I had money like he did to not worry that that place fell into disrepair. He held out, I think probably because of the redevelopment project that was going on with Riverton, maybe looking to make more money off of the property or have that bundled into that. A couple of years back, how many years now? 2 or 3 that they sold it over to Rice? I think 2 or 3, like some. Yeah, for $16 million. They finally decided to let go of the piece of property and he sold it over to this particular company, Rice. We have no idea what that developer, what that owner now wants to do with that site. It is not part of the borough's inventory of land that we own. What will happen though is when that individual comes up with their plan, they're going to have to go through the same process that it's a redevelopment zone. It's redevelopment. So they'll go through the same process that all redevelopment projects go through. They'll be working with Sarah and then they'll obviously have to come before the council, planning board, zoning boards, depending on what their plans are for that site. I'm quite certain that everybody up here probably would love to turn around and have something. I would love more open space, more green space, more everything. But I am realistic. I'm going to tell you right now, there's no way in hell this particular individual is going to sell this to us for open space at a price we can afford. So we're going to have to sit back, watch and wait. As residents, you're going to have to pay attention to what may or may not be going up there. And if you don't like it, when it finally does get proposed, you better turn around, come out to the meetings and do what you need to do to let your elected officials know what they want to see. That is the entrance and the gateway into our community. Part of it is like sad to see something go, but it was a complete and utter disaster. So I was happy to see it go also. One thing I wasn't happy to see go as the walls came down was, $70,000 worth of taxes that we lost when the building came down. People do forget property. We still are going to get the tax dollars from the property. But when the building came down, there was a municipal hit. We lost about, just over $70,000? Just over $70,000 in taxes. But it's a trade-off, guys. I won't give my opinion about what I would rather have. I mean, my taxes are going up just like yours. I'm a resident here, not just the mayor. And I know how expensive it is for me to live here too.
So, yeah, that was a little bit of a hard pill to swallow, but I am grateful that I don't have to see nonstop graffiti. And let's not forget that that site, and I know Councilman Zabrowski doesn't forget that one of our, we lost an officer over there. So, and I would think about that often when I went over that bridge, because I remember getting that call. But you know, progress is progress, and you guys have to pay attention to what goes up. I'll be sitting on the other side. I'm pretty loud now, so I think I could be loud over on that side too. All right, Allison, I hope I answered your question in reference to what we have to look forward to with the movie theater. I guess it's one of those things, stay tuned or look for the sequel. All right, anybody else from the public have questions, comments? Yes, I promised you. I
37 Olson Street, Morgan Section, Saraville. Last month, I happened to watch it on FiOS, the meeting, and Jay said that they were continuing the PSE&G product. We might as well hit all the utilities tonight over by Club and A. But I wanted to know what happened to the paving on our side. They paved Cath, Muth, and Brook and did nothing for the rest of the streets. Garrity, Schussler, all of those. Full disclosure, Olson, they didn't dig up because it's on my front lawn and not in the street. But I was just wondering what happened to the other street. At least across the way, they paved half of most of those streets, or all of them, but our side got nothing.
PSE&G, you know that's my favorite topic, but Jay, I'll let you handle that. Where are we with that? I fight with PSE&G.
Before they
all the
start the
time.
new one.
Yeah.
PSA&G was not required to repave your road. Reason being is that your road didn't just need a mill and pave, it needs reconstruction. So actually in the bond ordinance that the borough adopted recently for road reconstruction, your streets as well as the others on that side are included for reconstruction. So that'll be a borough project that'll be done probably next spring.
Because they're a mess.
Right.
Yeah, they're bad on
That's
that
the
side.
reason.
Thank you.
There you go. Yes, young lady. Allison, I see you. I'll call you again as well.
Hi, I'm Patsy Ann Ferry, 32 Sherwood Road, Portland.
Did you get that, Jess? Okay, she got it.
I'm concerned about the number of accidents that occur on Main Street. Exactly where the Garden State Parkway exit or entrance, well, it's an exit going on to Main Street. No.
Oh,
It's
you're
where
talking
they're
about, I
talking-
got
we're
you.
talking about the
Yeah, right over by
storage
the
being-
storage facility.
Right, and I can't even imagine what it would be like if they put more traffic on that road from the storage facility. But for now, I'm wondering if, since it is a county road, maybe there's something you could do to come up with some suggestions to cut down on the number of traffic accidents. I'm tired of hearing crashing cars and the police lights and the sirens, and it happens pretty frequently. I don't know if they need to put a speed limit on that road because people accelerate as they are going, on Main Street. And it's just a dangerous intersection. I remember years ago, anyone who knew Randy Travisano, that's a name from the past, he was saying it wasn't really a good idea to put that exit there, but it happens anyway. Yeah. It's scary. They come off there, they're not looking, and then people are coming straight across the road, and there's always an impact, and
There's a lighting issue there too.
there's nothing.
Especially at night when you're coming over to that bridge and it does kind of go down a little bit. I don't know.
Mayor, your microphone, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wow, that never happens. Yes, but I agree. Who is it? Actually, Donna, your public safety, can you, or I mean, poor Glenn, you've got to. Glenn's already got it. Glenn's going to reach out to PD and see if we could take a little bit more of a careful look at that, pull some
Any
accent reports.
suggestions? Yeah, would be helpful.
Visibility is definitely an issue over there.
Maybe
and
a
then
speed bump,
and a s-
maybe limit the speed for
Yeah.
the road. That might slow
Speed bump, I
cars
think
down.
people would be airborne, but
That's
nonetheless,
probably true, yeah.
I do think
But
that
maybe
it is
limiting
another.
the speed because they are really accelerating.
Yeah.
To the light by Rite Aid. I mean, it makes no sense at all.
No, thank you for that. It's another
Okay.
area that, and we usually don't get comments on that one, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me just look real quick. There might have been somebody online. No, Allison put her hand down, so Ken, come on up.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, Ken Olszewski, 108 North Edward Street. The answer to the question about who held up the movie property was Sumner Redstone, and what happened to him, he died. His daughter Sherry Redstone took over. The company is Paramount Global, and they were the ones that sold it.
Thanks,
He
Ken.
wanted to keep it all those years, but that's not why I'm up here. My
Oh,
question
I thought
is,
we had a quick one with you.
how many lawsuits, do we know how many lawsuits are against the borough that name the actions or the name of the former Democratic chairman? I'm not talking about recent lawsuits, not something from years ago.
Lord, I think most of them have been in the news so far.
I mean, I know
don't
two
even
major
know.
ones. We know if there are more than that.
I mean, I could probably count off 3 off the top of my head. 4, 3, 1, 2, 3.
3 or 4?
Without name, I can definitely say 3. Yeah, I actually think there's 4.
Okay, my next question is, who defends those lawsuits?
Go ahead.
Sometimes the JIF, but I'm not familiar with these particular suits, but typically the JIF, which is the Joint Insurance Fund, as you know.
They go to the, I didn't hear that. They go to the insurance company? Okay, and are our premiums based on experience? Who in finance maybe can tell me that? Okay, so ultimately the taxpayers are going to get stuck with that. And the other question on that is, there are a lot of council people and borough employees named in those lawsuits. If they lawyer up, who defends that? Are the taxpayers stuck with that bill too? They are. The counselor has shaked his head. in the affirmative.
As long as it doesn't, as long as the accused or the alleged conduct is within the scope of their job, then it's covered. If it's something extracurricular, then it wouldn't be.
I understand. So the point I'm trying to make is that the taxpayer are potentially on the hook for a lot of money on these lawsuits. The next part of this is, I came to this microphone months ago and I labeled what has happened here a culture of corruption. And I think from what has happened subsequent to that, I don't think there's too many people would disagree with that, what we seem to be involved in the borough. But let me make one other point, and I'm not here to defend anybody, but out of common sense, no one person could get us in the trouble that we're in and stuck with the expenses. So it would seem logical that there are a lot of enablers along the way, in addition to who is under indictment. And I'm talking about people at the state level, the county level, and the local level. So I think people that are in the know would fully agree with that no one person could get us stuck with everything we're in and the mess, the legal bills, but the legal bills are going to be a small part of it. It's cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars when you add this all up. So it's really a very sad time for the borough of Saraville. And I'm glad what I heard tonight. You appear to be looking to get started with solving some of this and going out. It seems taken about as long to take care of that as it does to take care of Medicine Cabinet I was talking about before. But if in fact this doesn't work, or you don't get the cooperation, doesn't happen. My other suggestion is perhaps we should ask the Department of Community Affairs to get involved and take a look at this, because I think most people know, probably the public may not, that Department of Community Affairs oversees all municipal governments in the state of New Jersey. And my suggestion is it could be time to get them involved with the culture of corruption that's existed here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ken. All right, come on up, Jim.
Thank you, Mayor. I had 3 things that I wanted to talk about, but now I have 4. Because I'm going to pick up on what Mr. Olszewski said. The suits that I know, there are 2 Club 35 suits. There's the Captain Fitzsimmons suit. There's the soccer group suit. are we in litigation with the Islamic Center? Or is that only one way because of zoning? Okay, so we won't count that yet. And all of these suits have a common denominator. Now, it's interesting, we're talking about hiring an auditor to look at things, but when citizens come up to talk about some of this stuff that ought to be investigated, we're limited to 5 minutes. I'll tell you this, if we were allowed to talk a little bit more, some of this stuff wouldn't go on. And also, I'm not sure, is an auditor the only professional that ought to take a look at these things? I know there are certainly areas that an auditor should look at, certainly books, but shouldn't there be some criminal investigators also looking at some of these things? And I would hope that would be taken into consideration. But now we are talking about, Mr. Olszewski said hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of suits. Well, interestingly enough, all of the council didn't get the Jack Fitzsimmons suit. I sent it to some members of the council who didn't get it, which is mind-boggling. But I looked at that suit and I looked at other suits. I hope he's right when he says hundreds of thousands of dollars. I hope we're not talking about millions of dollars that the town will be on the hook for. And there is a common denominator. And we know that. And we know that there are others here that are here by virtue of that common denominator. And we have to make sure that stops. But let me just ask this. 2 questions. Number one, these suits, when they came in, they used to be on the communications agenda. If you look at the agenda, there's a communications agenda there. Are those suits all noted on the communications agenda so that when folks come to the meetings, they know, for instance, that the soccer group is suing us, or that Captain Fitzsimmons is suing us, or the 2 Club 35 suits? Are they noted there?
They're not, you know what? They're not on here.
And why not?
Well,
Why not?
That's a good point.
I mean, is there anything, if you go to ShopRite or you go down to the River Road, you go any place, I'll tell you what people are talking about. They're talking about these things, but they're not in the public record. Is that a cover-up? Why don't we see if we're served? And, you know, I truly, I'm not kidding when I said, I talked to some council people about some of these suits, and they said, well, we haven't seen it. What? Here, I'll email you a copy of the suit. Did all the members of the council get all of these suits that I'm talking about? I just referenced 1, 2, 3, 4. Did all members of the council get these suits?
I got them now.
I mean,
got 'em.
officially, through official channels. I mean, I get, since I've started to talk here, you wouldn't believe the information I get from people. Some people I know, some send it to me anonymously, but I verify it all. Does the council get these suits officially through official channels?
I usually see them online. I don't have to request them most of the time because they're online.
Who on the governing, and yet there was a 6 o'clock meeting, special meeting, closed session. Was that to discuss litigation? Was that to discuss any of these suits?
No.
Litigation and personnel.
Litigation and personnel. Okay. All right. So there's more litigation. Okay. All right. I read those suits. Are there any members of the council or the governing body? Of course, the mayor is a member of the council under the law. Any members of the council who are conflicted out and can't participate in discussions or vote on any of these 4 suits? I mean, some were named by name, some were named by reference. And what happens then? Are they conflicted? Do they have a right to participate and vote? What happens then?
Mayor,
Yes.
we're actually at 5 minutes, but I'll answer it. Certainly, as the attorney, I advise members of the governing body if I believe there's a conflict. And the things that we discussed this evening, it wasn't new litigation, it was existing litigation, and nobody on the governing body had a conflict.
Okay, well, how about on these suits that I named? The two Club 35, the Captain Fitzsimmons, the soccer group? Any members of the governing body conflicted in those?
Yeah, I would advise the governing body not to answer any questions about conflict specific to litigation because it's a privilege. But I can tell you that if I'm aware of a conflict, I advise members of the governing body not to participate in a discussion.
Well, let me ask you then, I respect that answer, but if somebody is named or referenced in the litigation, hypothetically, would they have a conflict? They would.
Somebody's a named party in the lawsuit?
Not named as a defendant, but in the body of the complaint, if their name is mentioned.
It's fact specific, it's possible.
Okay, all right. Well, because they're one of these suits, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, whoa, whoa. I'm not sure there's a quorum that can vote to send this to JIF or can vote to settle or, so I think that's important. And the indictment that Mr. Olszewski talked about, that references some things that borough employees may or may not have done. Has every member of the governing body seen that and read that indictment? I know there are at least one or two
I read it.
who said to me, no, we only got it from you.
If you're asking where I'm telling you, I read it. I read every single one in its
Okay.
entirety that I had.
Then there's some allegations in there that would make me, if I were on the governing body, call in a borough employee and say, what's this about? What's this allegation? And it references you and your job. And what's the story? Is it true? Is it not true? Do you want to answer? Do you want to be held accountable? So did anything that even resembles that happen after that indictment was announced?
I will put this, it's on the record already. I'm going to be very careful with what I say. When that initial indictment, I don't have to be careful. I'm just going to tell you what history is.
I'm sorry to interrupt. If there's an indictment and there's a criminal investigation going on, the last thing in the world is you want members of the governing body to start calling witnesses up and talking about the case. There's an active investigation. That's the last thing you do.
Okay, so then the answer is no, but
I don't know
There's a
about
good
what
reason?
members, I don't know if I was advising them, I would say there's an active investigation, there's, the prosecutor's office is involved. I would say to the BA or to members of the governing body, don't start calling up employees and saying, what did you do? Where were you on a specific date? Because that would be potentially impeding a criminal investigation.
okay.
I will answer, when I first saw the indictment, read the indictment, heard of the indictment, saw the news. And this is, pull it up from the council meetings. I made it very clear. First thing that I did that evening, immediately called for Tom Polando's resignation on all boards and elected positions and so forth. That
recall
was
that.
immediate. It was put out through my mayor's blast, reaching all the people that we had. I even had it uploaded onto the webpage, I believe, as well. My mayor's message. As soon as we had a council meeting, okay, I turned around and called immediately for forensic audit and a special investigation to be done. If you remember, I initially called for 2 types of RFPs to be put out, not just one. I couldn't believe that I was fighting some council people in moving forward with that. Okay, go back and watch the meetings. I could not believe that I couldn't turn around and get movement immediate. I mean, I had to turn around and actually put out to the public and they felt like I was trying to implore council members to turn around and look into this. And right now it's August and we still haven't had movement. We still haven't had movement in turning around and doing the right thing. Now, I will say this, I have utmost faith in investigations that are going on outside of the borough.
You know, whether it be the prosecutor, whether it be the attorney general, whether it be whatever other agencies are involved. Do I think that there is still continued investigation going on? Because it seems like every other week there is another lawsuit and there's more fingers and legs to this thing. I know when to turn around and know what, you know, where I have the ability to do something and not. But the most important thing to me as the mayor at that moment was to turn around and say, Houston, we have a problem. And we need to do what we can do within the power that we're elected and given to make sure that our town is taken care of and our residents are careful and the things that have happened are legit. That's what I've done. And no, absolutely, I would not turn around and call employees up and say, I want to find, no, that is not something I would ever do. Plus, we don't have that role. We're not allowed to get into day-to-day things, but an investigation should absolutely be happening. But I don't want an investigation at our level to impede an
I
investigation
absolutely understand that.
at higher levels where we have, you know, the AG or the prosecutor or police officers that are doing their own. So I want to make sure there's a
And-
balance.
And the reason I raise this is I look at some things that have continued since that very sad day. I talk to people, I talk to a lot of people about these things. And the consensus from a lot of folks is we just don't learn. We continue this pattern. We invite the same people to stay and give them more authority. And so I just wonder about that. All right, thank you. I appreciate that. And I think if we're talking about transparency, if we're talking about letting the folks know, if we are sued, it ought to be on the communications agenda. And I don't know who makes that decision, how things are left off.
I will say, if you recall, we never had a correspondence section on the agenda before. I am going to say thank you to Jessica and thank you to Nicole, because it was through their training, their work, and they turned around and said, we need to make a change with the way that we put things. So I am certain that if there's additional correspondence that comes through that needs to make it on the agenda.
Well, I
that
don't
our
know that
clerks
we
will
never
do it.
had it.
No, we did back
Years
in the
ago.
90s.
Maybe back in the
Years
day,
ago.
since my tenure here, it was never on
Okay.
there.
90s
Maybe-
it was.
Maybe some
You're
other
right,
mayor
Jim.
cut it out, but
Yeah,
don't forget, I'm
I'm
old.
happy.
Years ago,
90s,
we
yeah.
had that and people knew what was going on as a result of that. And, you know, the way to stop these things that we just mentioned is to make sure people know about them. I
Yes.
have a couple other things, but I'll sit down.
All right. All right. Anybody else from the public? Come on up, Bob.
Bob Duffy, 111 Merritt Avenue. I stood up here for a year and complained about the corruption, pointed them out. Okay? And not the new council, but the old council, I asked them, make a motion, second it, 4 votes, and you show a little authority. Nobody moved. Next meeting, nobody did nothing. Once they find out corruption, when the corrupted people find out they can't get nowhere in this town, especially from the Democratic Committee in New Brunswick, the county, they'll move on. I said that before, and I say it again. And businessmen, developers, don't throw a dart and it lands in Sayreville. Higher ups tell them where to go. So the money flows to the right people. That's why they keep coming in Sayreville. So just think about it. Just say no. That's all. They're making the money and you ain't getting nothing. Say no. That's all you got to do. After 2 or 3 no's, they ain't going to bother you no more. Be ethical. So all you got to do is be ethical. There's another world out there. Let them go to some other town. Because when they know they can't get through here, they move on. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. All right, I see no one online. Anybody, you coming back again? You? Okay. New topic? Come on up. You,
Thank you, Mayor. At the last meeting, in response to a question I asked, we learned from the business administrator that we had been, in fact, negotiating a pilot with Arsenal. And I think the council was just based on the look on the faces. I think the council didn't realize that we were, that resolution from April 24th or May 24th to appoint Phoenix, pay them, I don't know, 12.5 or 25,000, whatever it is, was to negotiate a pilot until I asked that question at the last meeting. Now, I also asked if we determined if it's too late to grant a pilot. I think it is. The property's been purchased. The approvals have been granted by two boards, by Sarah and the planning board. Mr. Palando made the motion at Sarah to recommend a pilot. The building is up and they're seeking tenants. And my contention is, and I'm not the attorney, I don't know anything about redevelopment law, but my contention is that that ship has sailed. It's too late to grant a pilot. And I asked that question. I wonder if there's been any research on there, if there is a response, number one. Number two, my question is, what is the status of the discussions of a pilot with Arsenal? And number three is, if that ship has sailed, if it is too late to grant a pilot, shouldn't that have been made known before the business administrator recommended that Phoenix pilot discussion take place?
Okay, the council actually took a vote because we found out that an application was presented to the mayor. None of the council people were copied on that, so we were unaware of it. Just to cover our bases, we asked Glenn, and it was a vote, that he at least review the pilot, see if it was feasible, so that if we were told we had to consider the application. Now, we just received something from Sean this week. And I'm going to be honest with you, the law has me just as confused as it was before. It says that all they have to do is send the application to the mayor. But in our form of government here, the mayor is an executive officer that signs things that the council approved. And the council wasn't even copied on this. So we, as the governing body, never even saw it. So I'm still confused as to whether legally it was presented.
Okay, I appreciate that. It, however, doesn't answer
No.
any of my questions. And I still contend, and I hope, well, I don't know if I hope this is true or not. I still contend that the council never intended to authorize Phoenix to negotiate a pilot.
for the record, we're still trying to figure out if, I personally don't ever remember receiving it in hand. We're still trying to figure out how that email or letter came from the developer to me, because even Jess in their research, we couldn't figure out when it was stamped, when it was received, when it was whatever. It wasn't even stamped. You didn't get it.
Wasn't stamped, okay. Well,
Yeah. So who?
it's, well, it's only a $10 million question.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, $10 million
It
question.
has the ability to cost the taxpayer of this town $10 million. So I think it's important that, and let me ask the administrator, have there been communications with Phoenix, and are they continuing to negotiate a pilot since the last council meeting?
No.
Okay. So we're making some progress. Thank you
Jim,
for that
when it came up
answer.
this last time, there was not even anybody that made the motion to go after the pilot,
To go after the pilot.
to approve it. There wasn't even a motion
Well,
for it.
That's what I understood. I think that's what all of you understood. I think Mr. Skarzinski understood something different.
No, when we authorized him to work with Phoenix, just to see if a pilot was going to be good for us and what they
That's
were
right.
offering and what, that's
Yeah,
what
we're
he
gathering
was.
information on
Right,
if a pilot were to be granted.
right.
So
Right.
not to, you weren't authorizing anybody to negotiate that pilot.
Well, to find out if it would be beneficial to us, he would have to see what they were willing to, and what the negotiation back and forth. But when it came to authorizing it, there was no will on the council to do
Okay.
so.
So. All right.
We wasted their time.
Moving
and
to
on.
something, moving from that $10 million question to a $20 million question. One of the ordinances or resolutions was to sell the landfill 3 on Journey Mill Road. That was a contaminated site that goes back many, many, many years. We are going to get $20 million for that sale, my understanding is. And that, and I happen, without going into this, without knowing much about it, I think that is the kind of thing for which pilots were created. Because but for a pilot, that land would sit fallow and never be productive at all. So I don't, at this point, don't have an issue with that pilot. Of course, the devil is always in the details. My question is this: what are you going to do with that $20 million? Is that going to be a one-shot revenue gimmick? So that next year's mayor, for instance, gets to say, oh, look at this, I lowered taxes. $20 million you don't have to pay. Of course, that's going to be offset by the 10 million that were given away to Trammell Crow. But, or are you going to do something that coincidentally, I suggested to Kennedy O'Brien while he was running for mayor, that when property is sold, you take the proceeds from that property and you put it into an open, when borough property is sold, you take the proceeds from that sale and put it into the open space fund or some similar fund so that you can buy other property. And that does two things. It increases our open space inventory, number one. And number two, it creates a disincentive for municipal officials to sell property just to get that one-shot gimmick. So you sell property that maybe you shouldn't sell just so that you can say, oh, we got an infusion of money so we don't have to raise taxes in an election year or something like that. So I would very seriously consider that you do that. Maybe not the entire 20 million. I understand there were costs and litigation over the years.
We're up around 8 minutes.
Yeah, but this only boils down to about $3 million a minute, my discussion. So I'd like to go on if I can continue. So I would very seriously consider that if you're going to get $20 million for that site, that you don't take that money and you put it into the general fund, because we all know what happens when government officials get an extra $20 million. Bye-bye, right, Glenn? You've been in municipal government, bye-bye. So I suggest that we take that money and we put it into an open space fund, or we do it, we use it for a capital project that otherwise would not be done. So
Yeah, that's
maybe a community
I
center.
mean,
for
we
instance.
talked about bonding for things before. I would think we'd take that money and maybe pave some roads instead of bonding for them, or make some other, the water project that's $10 million. And I mean, yes.
One shot stimulus in the arm, one shot in the arm with $20 million I'm, again, 7 more meetings. I'm not going to see that money. Let's hope that it's used for something meaningful, important,
That's
that we
right,
can
that
see a
otherwise
return on.
Might not be done.
Yeah,
So
that we can
just
see.
don't- And I don't want
Yeah.
to
Not,
say piss it away, but that's what I mean.
No,
Don't
that's-
do that. And it was ironic that the introduction of that resolution came right after that long discussion on buying open space.
Isn't that funny?
So there is a connection there. And one last thing, as long as we're talking about open space, and let me raise the ballot question for the open space funds for recreation. I saw a story, and as we know, we have $11,281,000. And as you indicated, Mayor, we've used it once, only once. And I think we really have to buy open space. I saw the administrator was quoted in a newspaper article saying, we have an opportunity here, instead of doing a big recreation project piecemeal, we have the opportunity to do it in one fell swoop. Now, that might be a great thing, depending on what that recreation project is. And I think if the
I don't
administrator,
think that's my quote. Did you say the mayor?
I'm sorry?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought you said the mayor.
Um,
That was the BA.
I think we ought to know what that is and what the details of that are. And is this the Rutgers plan, for instance? And what the cost of that would be, because to ask us to do something, I'd like to support this, but I have to weigh the benefits. And if it's taking money out of the open space fund, maybe you take $20 million from Journey Mill Road and you put it over on some of that on Weber Avenue. So I'd like to know the details of that, because I think that's important. And I would expect a verbal response now, but I'd like to see some paperwork on it as
Yeah,
well.
we still haven't finalized a lot of the details. We've been engaged with the Rutgers people, Dr. Maslow and Dr. Bergstrom, with regard to the whole project. They've made a couple of site visits. Ultimately, the vision there is, because it's Blue Acres, we can't put any permanent structures. So anything we do there in terms of recreation must be passive, and it must coincide with the environment in which we want to install this. The project will include, as proposed, in addition to removing invasive species, planting species that will thrive there. There's a flood resiliency aspect to it to try to get us in line with the 100-year floodplain. That would also be part and parcel to the project. Essentially, walking paths, perhaps bicycle paths, all made of material that are natural and that will, no non-permeable pavement or anything like that. And it'll encompass in the neighborhood of about 160 acres, making it available to the residents. And it'll also include a more formal crossing of MacArthur Avenue to tie that project in with Veterans Memorial Park.
And this is the big recreation project you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
And in addition, we're also looking at the Blue Acres property in the Old Bridge section. One of the ideas floated by, if you'll excuse the pun, by the Rutgers people is maybe like a kayak or a boat launch upriver.
Okay, and who from the borough is talking to Dr. Maslow's?
Me.
You. Who else from the borough is talking to Dr. Maslow?
Who do you think should be talking to Dr.?
I'm not the administrator. I don't get paid, $100.
Look,
No, I'm just asking.
Usually what we do, we usually have a
My thinking is
committee.
this, though. Generally, the more people involved in something like this that can have input, the planning board perhaps, the recreation advisory committee, some members of the council, the more input, the better. Would you disagree with that?
Not at all, but I
Oh,
think it's
okay.
important to get the basic idea down and identify those critical things we need to do there, specifically with the flood resiliency.
Well, the problem
And
with
then-
that is
I'm
we-
sorry, did you want me
I'm
to finish or no?
No, go ahead.
And engage the Environmental Commission and the Shade Tree, which we've put it on their radar already,
Okay.
in order to have their input since they volunteer in that particular specialty.
Good.
And certainly at the end of the day, it's the voters that get to decide whether or not the project's going to get done, because the referendum's required to add that added authorization for
Well,
expenditure.
this project could still be done without that referendum, number one. And number two, the referendum isn't necessarily specific to this. But my last comment before I sit down is I have seen too many times when the blueprint is put down and then folks get to give their opinion. They then give their opinion not comprehensively, not from starting from scratch. They give their opinion only on the blueprint that Glenn and Dr. Maslow and others at
Actually,
Rutgers.
Glenn's not doing it all. It's Dr. Maslow and her team of PhDs, not me.
It's not Dr. Maslow?
Dr. Maslow and her team of PhDs.
And her team.
I'm not giving them any input other than what we're looking to
Yeah, I'm
achieve.
talking about from the borough.
Just so you know, years ago, Shade Tree.
Yes.
Worked with Rutgers on that plan. They presented it to us, the council.
But we had some problems with that. See, and I understand where you're coming from, Jim, because
Yeah.
I remember when that project was initially presented to us, and there was some excellent phases to that project. The first phase being the one that we did move forward with a number of years later, which was at least the replantings. But some of the ideas within that initial plan included shutting off infrastructure and eliminating roads. And we can't do that because we do have dotted areas where people still live within that area. And the cost of that was also going to be exorbitant. And it was unfortunate because a lot of people put a whole bunch of work into it from Rutgers, and they presented this piece to us, and it was, hold on, pump the brakes. This finalized project that you're bringing to us, we don't agree with all the components of it. And I felt bad because there was a lot of good pieces to it, but ultimately we had to close down the entire discussion. And it was only years later that we finally moved forward with the first part. So I understand what you're saying here. And I love that Glenn turns around and spearheads a lot of this stuff because his ideas are excellent and he's working on getting things through. But one thing that I do agree with you on is typically when we have a project this large, you want to turn around and the word committee comes up. You usually have one or two people from the council in addition to the other individuals. And I worked on this with you, Chief, when there were projects and ideas coming through for over by the soccer complex with different things. I was a council person at the time. I think I sat in there as a council person. You were there. I think Jerry Us was there and other people. And we had this collective discussion about how to do things. So that way a final project wasn't presented and it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
So I think you're at a good point within the discussions, but I think now it's time to bring in some other
I
people.
agree completely. And since Councilwoman Novak brought up the Shade Tree Commission, as you know, I was responsible for that tree bank ordinance. I don't know, what's 600,000 now, getting 800,000
Keep going.
over in the in the tree bank, over 2 million? Okay, so we've got 11.3 million, 11,281,000 in open space and 3 million, 2 million in the tree bank. Okay, now, when I came up with that tree bank idea, it was a novel idea. Nobody else had done it. I never anticipated that the green we would be accumulating was money. That money is to be spent. That money is not to sit in some account. That's defeating the purpose. And I have great respect for the Shade Tree Commission and their wonderful poetry contests and their art contests are wonderful. We got to start planting some trees. And these are two great funds that we have. But we got $13 million that we're not doing anything with. Now, maybe the proposal here will
Glenn has
will
some
further
stuff
that.
to add.
Okay.
So couple things with the tree fund. We're very limited in what we can spend it for, trees and tree-related equipment. So we would be able to leverage part of that fund for the Weber Avenue project or any other project we have in town. Second part of that is we've actually been attempting now for the better part of 5 months to do the phase 1 tree planting along MacArthur Avenue. Rutgers did the plan of what species and where to put it. Our public works people are poised and ready to get done what needs to be done on our dime. However, I'm still waiting now. We're in month 4. DEP under the Blue Acres projects must approve everything we do. And we're still waiting for that approval, or you would have seen the trees in June.
Over there isn't the only place the tree bank money can be
Absolutely,
spent.
you're
And it's not as
absolutely
limited
correct.
as you say. I mean, I looked at some of the expenditures. Some of those are a little iffy, how that money has been used in the past, but I'm not, I mean, it kind of meets the spirit, so I'm not raising that issue, but we have that money. Both of these funds are for a purpose. Let's make sure that we do that, what they are meant to do, okay? And I thank you very much for the additional time. I
You got it.
apologize.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Anybody else? We're good online as well, ladies and gentlemen, at this. I never have to ask twice on that one. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, does anybody need just a minute or so? I actually could use a minute myself. Just a quick second before we have a second agenda that is typically our BA's report of things. So you're welcome to stick around, but usually people run away. I don't know why. We're not as entertaining. after this. Oh.
We can't hear you. Can you guys put the microphones on? Can you hear me? Hello?
Donna can't hear us.
Sorry, I fixed it.
There you go.
I can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay, Roberts,
Oh, Christian again.
Christian, Noah,
Sorry.
okay. Zabrowski? All right, application for social affair permits received from the following: Colonel DB Kelly, Division 1, Middlesex County, to serve beer and wine at the South Amboy Irish Festival on September 9th, rain date September 16th, from 12 PM to 9 PM at the Raritan Bay Waterfront Park. American Legion Post 211 to serve beer and wine at their football tailgate party on September 17th from 11:30 AM to 7 PM on their property. Application for a person-to-person transfer from Karen Bailey Bieber to Saraville PR2 liquor license to LLC, a pocket license. All reports and paperwork have been filed. Authorization to award a contract for uniform rental and cleaning to UniFirst through Sourcewell contract in an amount not to exceed $69,376.48 per year. Authorization to award a contract to Albitron LLC for security improvements to the Borough Hall third floor in an amount not to exceed $14,400. Coin toss requests received from the following: St. Stan's School for September 9th and 10th, and several Blue Bombers from November 11th and 12th. Letter received from Melrose Hose Company number 1, changing the status of Robert Lasco to become a life member. Request to travel received from the following: Morgan Hose to attend a wet down on August 26th in Homedale, and all fire companies to attend the New Jersey State Firemen's Convention from September 13th to the 17th in Wildwood. Authorization to issue a change order number 1 to Commercial Interiors Direct for the carpet installation project at the Public Safety Complex to include an additional training room in an amount not to exceed $14,589.92. Authorization to purchase 2023 Chevy Tahoe for the Office of Emergency Management from Mall Chevrolet through ESCNJ contract in an amount not to exceed $60,879.70. Authorization to purchase 2023 Chevy Tahoes for the Police Department through ESCNJ contract 2021-09 in an amount not to exceed $250,000, $463.50. Authorization to equip the 2023 Chevy Tahoes with the following: radar systems from Stalker Applied Concepts, New Jersey State contract, an amount not to exceed $12,470. Panasonic tugbooks from Software House International, New Jersey State contract, in an amount not to exceed $28,631.75. Lettering by Graphic Solution in an amount not. It's going to be the 5 Tahoes.
Oh, it's for the 5.
Yeah, that's all for the, yep. Graphic Solutions in amount not to exceed $5,000. Light sirens from East Coast Emergency Lighting through NJ State contract in an amount not to exceed $119,186. Request received to hold a block party from the following: residents of Pine Tree Drive from Buttonwood Drive to 56 Pine Tree Drive on September 2nd, a rain date of September 3rd from 9 AM to 12 midnight. Residents of Dunlap Drive from Albert and Florence Drive on September 16th from 12 PM to 11 PM. Authorization to scrap 1988 Ford tractor, which is no longer needed for public use and in very poor condition. Authorization to award a contract for the installation of a pickleball court at Kennedy Park to ATT Sports through Sourcewell contract, an amount not to exceed $242,030. Authorization to award a non-fair and open contract to EMR Power Systems for generator maintenance in an amount not to exceed $29,623.72. and authorization to purchase 2 Ford F-250 pickup trucks from primary vendor Winter Ford through NJ State contract in amount not to exceed $111,406, or from secondary vendor A&K Equipment through Sourcewell contract in amount not to exceed $125,083.72. With that one, the model a year is newer. If the vehicles from primary vendor are not built, delivered. An authorization for St. Stan's Church to use the portable stage for the 3rd annual car show on October 29th, rain date November 5th.
Take a breath, Joyce. Well done. From the line of Darcy. Let's see, business administrator, you got a big one to fill here.
Couple of personnel moves. Authorization to change employment status of Lauren Lestuck from part-time clerk 1 to full-time clerk 1 in the Water and Sewer Department effective September 1st, 2023. That's to fill a slot becoming vacant by a retirement. Authorization to appoint Dylan Batko and Anthony Donofrio as laborers in the Water and Sewer Department effective September 1st, 2023. Again, filling existing openings. Authorization to appoint Marissa Barbieri and Nicole Galvo to part-time clerk 1 in the municipal court effective September 1, 2023. One part-timer has resigned and there was an existing unfilled open part-time position, so those are both being filled. Authorization to promote Angela Moat to lieutenant and Michael Popowski to sergeant in the police department effective September 1st, 2023, also filling voids left by a retirement.
Will we be bringing them in?
I don't know what the date will be for the swearing in, but.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And lastly, authorization to change employment status of Meadow Magnani from part-time clerk 1 to full-time clerk 1 in personnel effective September 16th, 2023. And I do have one add-on. I apologize. Somebody mentioned this to me as we were coming out of close. We're up on our contract for home serve. We've not had a tremendous amount of good experience with there. Based on that and the contract, we derive very little, if any, revenue out of there. Zero. So that's a nice round number. But at the end of the day, they advertise their product with the benefit of the borough seal, which makes it look like the borough has some type of participation in that arrangement.
They come to us.
And I just need the council to direct me whether or not they want that renewed or whether they would just want to leave it lapse and move on. Yeah, we've had complaints and, you know, we've done our best to contact home serve, and when we reach out, you know, they get better service, but the residents have been expressing their frustration at not being able to get timely reimbursement or timely service when they're having a water line issue.
Residents will still be able to
use HomeServe.
purchase if
Yes,
they wish.
yes.
What you're saying is that you're asking the council.
It won't go on our letterhead anymore.
Yeah, there's
letterhead anymore.
no financial or organizational benefit to continuing that relationship as far as I can tell, but I need you guys to decide what you want to do with it.
I make a motion that we just let it lapse.
Yeah.
Just their use of the letterhead, because what happens is that if I'm going to be honest, I think we have more people that are very happy with her, sir, that are not. But the fact of the matter is because it goes out on our letterhead, they'll come to us. And we don't really have much control over that. And we're not it's not like we're making any money for it. So no sense wasting Glenn's time on something we're not even making any money on. Now, if they want to give us money. No,
Is
we
that
don't
second,
get anything.
Mary, to let it lapse?
A portion that was supposed to come to the town. And I remember at one of the meetings that Dan asked HomeServe to give the discount back to the resident.
That's the way it works. I see. I don't remember.
Pretty sure. Yeah.
Maybe you should look in, maybe
Before we make it.
maybe we should look into that then. So maybe our residents are receiving some type of added benefit before we kill it.
Yeah.
You know, I would be curious to see also how many, I wonder if they can provide us with how many residents actually have actually signed up for that service. I mean, I personally hear a lot of good things about it. I haven't heard more than maybe 1 or 2 people complain about like either a timeliness or something.
but
One of the contractors that they sub out to,
yes, it was more.
doesn't perform up to the
Right.
standards.
In fairness, the service may be fine. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
people don't call to
Say.
say
everything's good.
they did a good job, but I've probably fielded about 6 complaints since I've been here.
Find out, Jess, thanks for
I didn't even.
remembering that.
About this.
Yeah, reach out and see if there is any type of benefit that the
They're
residents are
giving it to
getting.
us, they're giving it back to the,
Yeah, and then
it's just because it started.
when does it
No
expire?
more.
End of the month.
Oh, so you can
got
get,
one.
yeah, we got time.
10 days?
There you go.
Come on, Glenn.
A long month. All right, is there anything else?
That's it. for
That
my
does
agenda.
it? Miss Biancamano, what do you have for us?
Amend the 2023 local municipal budget for the following: opioid settlement, $24,508.24. The lead grant service assistance grant, $21,400. 2023 drive sober or get pulled over grant for $8,750. And I also have one add-on, authorization to sell bonds. And that is it, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Denise. Borough Engineer, Jay?
Madam Mayor, one item, 2021 road project phase 3, looking for a change order. No change to the contract amount, just allows us to pay the contractor for extra work done at the request of the borough. That's
Thank you
all I
very
have.
much,
Thank you.
Jay. Let's move on. Borough Attorney? Go on in.
Nothing additional, Mayor.
Excellent. No need for executive public portion. Anybody left that suddenly has the need? Oh, you're messing with me now. I'm going to start with Ken and then I'll bring you up because you had a lot of time. He's.
Oh, my God.
Oh, Lord.
But I'll be around longer because as you've heard, I'd go up to church a lot and tape masses.
They're
so
taking care of you.
Thank God, the Lord is with me. Ken Olszewski, 108 North Edward Street. I'm going to be brief. From the comments you've heard tonight from Allison online, from Mr. Robinson, Mr. Duffy, myself, I think there's a very big concern about corruption in the town and about our response to it. It just seems, to me as a member of the public that we're sitting back, I talked when I was up here before, Mayor, about jokingly a little bit about how long it's taken to try to get some kind of an investigation going here. And I'm with Jim. I don't know this is the right investigation, but at least maybe it's some investigation. Seems it's going on for months. You put that together with, I would have to term a laissez-faire attitude of the people that sit here. Or some of them have been around too long, about what's happened. It's almost like, well, hey, we got the guy, he's been indicted and, everything is clean and clear now. Well, it just isn't clean and clear. We all know that. Jim pointed out things about Sarah. Sarah has been a big part of this. I don't want to regurgitate everything, but I stood at this microphone months ago and talked about when we went to the planning board meeting and they approved those sort of warehouses, how it went out in the parking lot and the comments where I stood there, but the comments were to Jim, well, you can come to this microphone and say anything you want, but this is being approved tonight. Well, what does that lead you to believe? How would you like if you were on trial and you heard that from somebody in a jury? It doesn't matter what you say. This guy's guilty. So why would we have any other opinion of what has happened here? And it seems with Sarah, it hasn't really been cleaned up. I mean, we've elected the same chairman who doesn't even live in town anymore. Probably if somebody didn't die, we'd probably have all the same offers. We have the same professionals. People come to this microphone and they want, they want millions of dollars in tax abatements. Give me a break. The guy from the club talks about how, it was a bad investment. Yeah, I've made bad investments. I've made plenty of bad investments over the years. I didn't come and ask anybody to give me a cut on my taxes, give me an abatement or do something for me on taxes. I swallowed it, went to the next one. When I bought a stock and it tanked. I can tell you many stories. I sit here all night. but that's nonsense. You're robbing the public is what you're doing. You're robbing the public of 20% of the tax dollars from everybody that you consider for this. Like Jim said before, maybe it's okay on the guy on Journey Mill Road for landfill number 3. I sat through landfill number 3 when I was on the council and all the issues on it, what we cleared up on it and got track of. But maybe something like that is all right. Maybe it's something with the movie that's sat there for years and been a mess and an unsightly, disgusting mess for the town. Maybe a tax abatement is all right, but for people to just come in and we hand them out like candy or consider, we should knock those things down right from the start, unless you've got a damn good idea. And if you got a businessman sitting here like they did on the storage things, well, if you can't make a profit without getting a tax reduction, maybe you're in the wrong business or maybe we got the wrong guy. So when you talk about why the public thinks that something's going on funny here, this corruption thing has not stopped and it's not ended. And it's not only one person that's involved. I said earlier when I was here, no, nobody thinks that one person, no matter how smart they are or how unintelligent they are, has been able to maneuver all the things that have happened here and the money that has cost. I said hundreds of thousands of dollars. Robinson is probably right. It's probably millions of dollars when you add everything up. So that's what we're talking about in the public. I wish you would listen. I wish you would take it to heart that changes need to be made.
That's
not
five.
not just a guy that's been indicted. That didn't solve anything. You need to change the way you're thinking and you need to change the actions of what goes on in this town to make it legitimate. Thank you.
Jim.
Mr. Olszewski is wrong. The fact that he goes to church more than I do doesn't mean he will last longer. It probably means we'll go to different places at the end, but there's nothing to do with longevity. I got a text while I was sitting here. Somebody was watching and went on to the website and saw who made the motion. And it was one of the females there. It was a female voice that made the motion to reinstall the absent chairman or the chairman who no longer lives in town as chair. So we'll have to look at the minutes, but I don't think it was you, Mary. You would have remembered, right?
I usually do,
Yeah,
but don't
you're
forget
pretty
my
good at
big
that, so,
mistake.
But it was, and I think there were only 3 females there. But anyway,
It's 3 of us. We all sit together. So.
I do just want to note this. I looked at the agenda and I see that last month we hired people on a part-time basis and this month we give them full-time positions.
I should let Glenn do this, but I'm aware of this. We hired them part-time to be trained in this position so they could take over when the
Gotcha.
full-time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that response and that seems to make sense. With respect to home serve, when I think it was Councilman Rittenhouse that kind of brought them in and spearheaded them and defend. I could be wrong. My memory's not as good as yours, but I think Art was involved in that and he defended it. But I was always a little uncomfortable like that because it implies an endorsement. And when you get mail with the borough logo on there, whoa, when I get something from the borough, take it seriously. And I will say this, Glenn said he got 6 calls since he's been here. One of them was from a constituent of mine, and he was very, very helpful. Their plumbers were not able to resolve the problem. However, thanks to Mr. Skarzinski's intercession, she was able to get her own plumber, who I recommended, and they paid the bill. So I do appreciate that, and she appreciates that. And as part of being a good committee man, then I'm happy I was able to do that. But what I really wanted to talk about was I looked at the agenda here, the bill list, and Morgan Bluff gets a reimbursement for municipal services. And I was involved with that law, and that was a sticking point that apartments would get those reimbursements, the same reimbursements that townhomes and condos
Forced
get.
to.
But that's the law. But, and there are other apartments on here, and that's fine, that's the law. But Morgan Bluff is the apartment complex that got a pilot. One of the conditions of their pilot is that they send audited material to the borough on an annual basis. I Oprah'd that audited material. The borough has not gotten that.
That's right.
And last year, I don't know how many people were complaining that rents went up, what, 20, 25%? So they're in violation of their pilot. And, you know, that's one of the things I'm not real happy with Sarah about, that residential, that market rate, and now very expensive market rate complex is getting a pilot. They shouldn't be getting a pilot. The place which is 100% affordable, they're entitled to a pilot. That helps us meet our need, our goal. That helps poor folks. Morgan Bluff, that raised their rent 20 or 25%, I think it was last year, and is not submitting the financial documentation that they are required under that pilot agreement.
Before you continue, Jim, and I think we brought this, I don't think you were here, Sean. I thought it was brought up to when Mike was still here. Please, can you please look into that? Because I do believe, oh, you do? You have stuff on that already? Because yeah, I do believe they're in violation of their pilot agreement. So you might
Mr.
not have to do
Robinson, you are
anything.
absolutely correct. About 2 months ago, there's 3 entities that have not made their obligations in supporting us with their required annual financial statement. They've received a certified letter from me. They've received a visit in person. And at the end of the month, when my 30-day window expires, I'm going to ask the borough attorney to send a strongly worded legal correspondence to those entities that have not been compliant.
And I bet I know who those other 2 are,
Who are the other two?
because
Can
I
you
have been looking
disclose?
into that
Neptune Energy and Red Oak.
Okay,
as well.
okay.
Yeah,
So-
that's in progress. And like I said, we're to the point now I have to engage the borough attorney with this because they're
Fine,
not.
thank you. I was going to hold that to another meeting, and I raised this only tonight because I saw they are getting the reimbursement. But since I am up here, I'm going to tell you something I'm going to raise at a future meeting. And I don't know if Sean was here when I first raised it, but the agreement with the place was that veterans would get a preference. When I looked into this, I found out that it ain't exactly a veteran's preference. There are 5 of 92, 94 apartments, however many are there,
80, 88, I think it is.
somewhere around there, 89 to 94, and one is for the superintendent.
Yeah.
5 are put aside, not for veterans, for homeless veterans. So if you're not a homeless veteran, it doesn't apply. And when I looked at the application to rent an apartment there, it doesn't even ask you if you're a veteran. So, you know, I argued for this. I was one of the folks that suggested this so that we would get 100% credit because
Yeah.
to pick up on what the mayor said, if we didn't, we would have had to build 6 times 89,
Yep.
540 apartments instead of these 89. So I supported this and I truly thought there would legitimately be a veteran's preference. 5 for homeless veterans, and they don't even ask on the application if the applicant is a veteran. That's just not right. We were sold a bill of goods. And when I asked this at Sarah, and I'm surprised that Sarah didn't ask this question when they came in. I don't know why, but they didn't. Attorney Baker told me that's statutory. Maybe it is. I don't know. But I think we ought to look into that. I think our veterans deserve better. I think this governing body deserves better because we were under
That's
one impression,
absolutely.
and that's not what happened.
Mary, you, I think, are the only other person
that's
that
not
was
right.
on this when, and that was exactly what
I
we.
wasn't on Sarah at the time, but we were constantly told that it
That
was
was what
something
it
we
was.
wanted and that it was going to be veterans' preference. Now,
Absolutely.
all things being equal, if it was between a veteran and somebody else, the veteran would get it, kind of like we hire.
I
Right.
handed out the pamphlet
Mhm.
to the council on various strategies to achieve our affordable goal without, the builder's remedy. Of course, you might recall, Mary, the mayor said he didn't have time to read it.
I know.
The-
I remember
Mayor
that.
O'Brien, Mayor O'Brien, not you, Mayor.
I know,
You read it
easy.
And we've had a lot of discussions about it, but, and that pamphlet certainly
remember
talked
when you
about
handed it
veterans'
over to us.
preference, and that's why I recommended it.
Yeah.
And that's why, that's one of the few times I praised Sarah
Mhm.
for doing that. They were a real partner in that, and they did a great thing in approving that.
I don't,
But-
I don't know if it is truly statute that wouldn't allow it, but I think we should have been informed of that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I would hope
That's what I have.
we
been
would
told.
look into it and make things right. And, our veterans deserve better, and we should do that. And I apologize again for taking all this time, but they are important matters. Thank you so much.
You got it, Jim. All right. Anybody else? There's only 3 is left over here. I know one isn't going to come up. We're good. All right. Motion to close the public portion.
So moved.
Second, somewhere. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye. Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Go in peace.
Your pens. Good envelope you can reuse.